This guy marched right into a goblin dungeon alone, even covering up his eyes to prove he could win without his vision. Naturally, the goblins didn't understand why this lunatic was acting so bizarre, so they rushed him, but to their horror he was tearing them apart completely blindfolded. By the time Shin finished his brutal work, monster bodies littered the entire floor. He slowly pulled off his blindfold, glanced around, and scoffed that this was way too easy, and his mission was nearly done. Yet just a few days ago, when Shin first showed up at the entrance, holding a long sword, the other adventurers could barely hide their sheer disgust. Their leader assumed he was just some clueless rookie who watched some online videos, and assumed he was fully prepared. One hunter flat out told him that he shouldn't expect any special favors and had to pull his own weight like everybody else did. Not a soul expected him to survive, but the next moment shattered all expectations. Hours later, the veterans failed miserably against the boss monster and fled for their lives, while Shin calmly walked into the chamber alone with a smirk. He easily avoided every incoming strike and mocked them, asking if they weren't the proud veterans who said he'd only get in the way. Then he absolutely demolished the boss and every surrounding minion. When he finally walked out, he held the rarest drop in the entire dungeon. Now, the people who once mocked him either revere his strength or are completely terrified of him, but none of them realized the tragic, dark history behind his incredible power. Back when Shin was just a kid, that was exactly when those cursed gates opened and vicious beasts began invading the earth. In those days, Shin watched his beloved mentor scream at him to run and save his own life, while she faced a gruesome, terrible demise right before his eyes. He couldn't bring himself to flee. He just stood frozen, realizing that humanity had absolutely no hope of survival. There seemed to be no point in resisting, but then a blinding flash of light shredded every single monster instantly. That savior was so awe-inspiring and insanely strong that something broke and shifted deep inside Shin's soul. If he could reach that level, maybe he could actually make his late mentor proud. But let's check the cold reality of his journey. Over 30 long years slowly passed. He became a hunter, gained immense power, yet the monsters simply kept pouring out. Even worse, that legendary hero who saved his life ended up dying right in his arms. It's incredibly brutal. When heroes turn out to be mortal, with his shattered spirit, Shin kept battling for another 20 years. By 55, standing completely alone on the bloody field, he remained the sole survivor. Still, he couldn't help but ask why he was still pushing his limits at nearly 60 years old. 30 years ago, Shin Sung-hyan took up the sword, with his peak achievement being just barely breaking into the top 100 ranked hunters nationwide. But honestly, that wasn't saying much, considering he was essentially just another face in a massive crowd. After clearing his latest dungeon, he receives a rare skill book as a reward. He recalls consuming artifacts in the past and ponders if he can absorb this one too. Suddenly, a strange presence manifests nearby. The constellation-laid exemplary student shows up and warmly congratulates the veteran hunter on his effort, praising his perfect final blow. This being is basically the tangible form of Shin Sung-hyan's personal guardian constellation. In this world, to become a hunter, a person must form a. He made a contract with a constellation, feeling grateful he managed it. Still, those crazy, strict conditions meant absolutely zero progress. He has not gained any benefits yet. Then, his celestial sponsor urges Shin Sang-hyan to consume the book. He does not actually eat the object, absorbing it completely using the only magic power he ever managed to wake up. Before this, Shin Sang-hyan could not use magical items at all. Desperate, he tried eating them as a test. Nothing worked. Every single weird experiment failed, leaving him completely empty-handed. 30 long years slipped by, and he could not use a single item he found. Then he learned to sync his mana with artifacts. This allowed him to absorb them. He called this ability artifact devouring, but finding his strength so late meant everyone else was already miles ahead. They grew far stronger, leaving him struggling in the dust. Looking at the mysterious book he just received, he finds 0 instructions inside. His desperate constellation snatches the volume, attempting to figure out how to make it work. It soon admits it knows almost nothing about Shin Sang-hyan's weird talent, apologizing for being completely useless to him, though it still urges him to keep trying. Having time to sync his mana, Shin Sang-hyan still feels deeply frustrated. He grumbles that he does not have years left, being old enough to father rookies. Then, softening his voice, he tells his sponsor it did nothing wrong. He apologizes for his bitter outburst, admitting that his entire life has been filled with endless frustration. Shin Sanghayan still remembers the heroic savior who rescued him decades ago. He spent his entire life chasing that shadow, desperate to match him, but ended up exhausted. Being completely worn out by the struggle, if only he were a bit younger. He could change his path, but he is old and ready to retire. His celestial sponsor is told to go find a fresh, young adventurer. But get this right then, Shin Sanghayan is caught completely off guard. The starry entity suddenly unleashes its blinding cosmic power directly on him. That was his dramatic final farewell to his tired 55-year-old existence. In another scene, reporter interviews a sharp woman on TV asking about dangerous dungeons. She is the powerful leader of the Hyeonyung Corporation, Madame Han. Dungeons, she explains, serve as simple stepping stones, but mysterious portals also exist. These portals transport adventurers into dangerous, unknown dimensions. Our hero watches the broadcast at home. He stares, realizing he actually traveled back in time to this exact moment. Watching this exact news broadcast 30 years ago is a vivid memory for him. 4 days have passed, and he has slowly pieced the truth together. He has been sent 30 years back into his own past when the portal event occurred. After blacking out, he woke up in his dingy old bedroom from decades ago. On top of that, his physical body went through a complete change, becoming 30 years younger. Yet every single memory of his future survival remains totally intact. Shin Sanghayan has no idea how this miracle occurred, but he knows his loyal constellation had to be behind it. Though still deeply confused, he figures the best thing he can do right now is get to work. Right now, his only weapon is a cheap bronze dagger, the exact same gear. He started off with almost nothing, but now he knows something new. This cheap dagger has a hidden ability, and even though the weapon is low rank, that does not matter. Before moving on, the protagonist knows there is a specific place he must go. Shin Sanghayan enters his own unconscious space because he knows something crucial. It is the only place where he can consume an artifact, making him nervous. He gets anxious every time. Then, an artifact materializes in the form of some ordinary food. The protagonist breathes a heavy sigh of relief because of this. It appeared as normal food instead of some disgusting, crawling bug, making him think. If it were always this easy, he would level up incredibly fast. Eating the chicken, he absorbs the dagger's essence and acquires the weapon's hidden ability. It is called Demon Strike. After devouring the artifact and returning, the dagger vanishes forever, a natural consequence of having its essence drained. Completely absorbed, either way our hero gets what he came for, fully prepared. Right in the heart of the city, a team prepares for a dungeon raid under Yun Dikayong. The team leader is approached by a transport manager with some bad news. Shin Sanghayan, one of the regular workers, has abruptly departed, leaving them short-handed. But Yun Dikayong calmly explains that the young man is actually joining his group. Confused, the manager asks how this is even possible. A newly awakened rookie can join an expedition alongside a seasoned team of adventurers. He points out that the young man did not even finish his training at the academy, warning that sending an amateur into the field is extremely dangerous. But Yun Dikayong insists he has everything under control, as he is the leader who is fully responsible for this group and its distribution system. Hearing this, the manager backs down, feeling thoroughly intimidated and quickly apologizing. Soon, even a team member questions the leader about bringing this rookie along. Yun Dikayong explains that the kid volunteered, so if anyone ends up dying, it should be the rookie rather than any of his actual, valued teammates. If the kid does not make it, then they will not have to deal with him anymore. Right then, Shin Sanghayan arrives, declaring that he is no longer a simple porter. He is a real adventurer now, but his former coworkers are not pleased. He immediately catches their dirty looks. Honestly, the sheer tension is off the charts. He wishes they would try to hide it, but the leader greets him warmly anyway. Yun Dikayong welcomes him, but his eyes quickly narrow in suspicion. He spots the massive sword on the rookie's hip and questions his choice of weapon. Our hero confidently nods, claiming he watched some tutorial videos online and knows exactly how to handle it. Yun Dikayong sighs, warning him that swords like that are extremely hard to use, but he cannot change the boy's stubborn mind. So he pretends to admire his fiery spirit and hopes he will perform well inside. With the entire roster finally assembled, the group prepares to cross the threshold. Yun Dikayong instructs his squad to stay close together once they step inside. Everyone must gather at the entrance immediately rather than wandering off alone. As they wait, the leader quietly sneers, thinking this kid is incredibly foolish. No sane person simply watches online tutorials, buys a sword, and enters a dungeon. He is absolutely convinced that this clueless rookie is either completely insane or arrogant enough to believe he is already some kind of legendary hero. He figures the plan is simple: let the rookies take the hit. After they wear the monsters down, the veterans swoop in. A classic bait tactic that leaves the newbies completely helpless. But Yoon Dikayong is the one getting a massive shock here. Shin Sung-hyan effortlessly wipes out several tough beasts alone without a single scratch. The leader just stares in absolute, quiet shock at this monster. Just like in fantasy video games, this world has brutal orcs. They act exactly like the legends say, extremely violent. Sure, they are not the ultimate apex predators of this place. They are pretty dumb, but their raw aggression is insane. Cocky fighters assume these beasts are easy prey just because they lack brains. Big mistake, even a stupid orc possesses terrifying, raw physical power. Seriously, these things will grind an arrogant rookie into absolute paste. Yoon Dikayong leads the raid party deeper into the damp ruins. A veteran player warns Shin Sung-hyan that nobody gets a free pass. Everyone has to pull their own weight if they want to get out alive. Shin Sung-hyan calmly nods, but the guy keeps talking down to him. He warns the rookie to keep up or get left behind. Shin Sung-hyan asks if he can handle the next one. The veteran looks confused, but a sudden roar cuts them off. A massive orc leaps out, though Shin Sung-hyan remains unfazed. He already sensed the beast approaching from the dark corridor. The veteran raises his shield, screaming at the rookie to help. But immediately after, the guy backtracks and shouts at him to stay. He yells that he does not need a rookie getting killed here. That distraction almost costs the foolish veteran his entire life. The orc swings and Yoon Dikayong barely steps in to block. He knocks the beast back, shouting for everyone to keep calm. He commands his squad to hold their ground and maintain formation. The angry monster charges, but Yoon Dikayong is ready. He braces behind his heavy iron shield and spots a perfect opening to strike. The party cheers him on, but the orc is not done. It was a bait, and the beast suddenly retaliates with fury. Shin Sung-hyan quietly observes the clash, analyzing the leader's combat style. Even with that decent power level, the leader cannot win this fight easily. He keeps hacking away, but his standard attacks barely scratch the hide. It takes a heavy barrage of desperate shield bashes to finally wear the monster down. Panting heavily, Yoon Dikayong turns back to check for injuries. The team sighs in relief, celebrating what they think is a victory. Then the heavy stomps of a whole pack of orcs echo. Yoon Dikayong realizes they are outnumbered and orders a retreat. But our main character steps forward, asking if he can try. The veterans look at him like he has completely lost his mind. Yoon Dikayong quickly snaps at him, warning him that these beasts are deadly. Shin Sung-hyan simply ignores the warning and charges in. He leaps in. Shin Sang-yun charges hard, taking out a beast with a single strike. The group freezes in shock, absolutely stunned. Shin Sang-yun asks if they are surprised because he is only level 1, not just. The adventurers are shocked, but the orcs are furious too and hungry. For revenge, for him this is perfect. He is right. Where he wants to be, facing off against strong enemies, besides attacking. Shin Sang-yun also dodges with insane speed, watching the rookie dominate. The other adventurers wonder if they are actually looking at a beginner. Shin Sang-yun slashes his way through and stands before the final enemy, the pack leader, Furious the boss. Attacks relentlessly, but Shin Sang-yun easily slips away, and not only that. He counters with precision. Yoon Dikayong watches the scene in desperation. Certain the protagonist is putting himself in danger out of pure recklessness. Shin Sang-yun, however, thinks the team leader is just being way too dramatic. Meanwhile, the monster activates its special ability called Demon Bash, boosting its physical strength. Instead of panicking, the protagonist says this is exactly what he was waiting for. The confused orc charges in a frenzy, but Shin Sang-yun strikes faster, taking it down. Watching such a powerful beast get crushed right before him, Yoon Dikayong wonders how strong Shin Sang-yun actually is. He cannot believe this guy is a newly awakened Aside from sheer strength, Shin Sangyun shows a ridiculous level of skill with his sword. He did not just defeat the leader, he sliced through armor. Doing it honestly, it leaves everyone questioning who he really is. The protagonist notices he earned some nice bonuses from the victory. He does not really care about the bonuses, though, because something else is on his mind. Shin Sangyun wants to distribute his newly earned stat points, but differently from how he did things in his previous life, because this time his focus is on the luck attribute. Then Yun Dikayong walks over and asks how a newly awakened could possibly be that strong. The protagonist knows he cannot tell the truth, so he says he just woke up this strong. Yun Dikayong gets incredibly frustrated and says that makes no sense. He claims Shin Sangyun is dodging the question and using a magic weapon while trying to hide it. Shin Sangyun tells the leader he is welcome to check the blade himself. Yun Dikayong inspects the sword and sees it is completely ordinary, with absolutely nothing to explain that kind of power. In all his years as an adventurer, he has never seen a newly awakened fight like a level 50. Right in the middle of this, one of the team members points something out. They found a secret room. Yun Dikayong warns that the rookie handled minions, but now the boss is waiting, and he wants to keep the kid out of that fight for his own good. Shin Sangyun just smiles, knowing they have no idea what he is really hiding. He gets the team leader's attention, saying he wants to destroy the boss and keep the rare loot for himself. In this world, there is a highly prized artifact called the Scarlet Stone. It drops from a defeated demon orc, but even after fighting several of them, the drop rate is extremely low, making the Scarlet Stone one of the rarest treasures to ever find. In our protagonist's past life, his team failed to beat a demon orc, letting a rival squad walk away with the prize instead. They bragged constantly since the loot was highly valuable and easily sold. Beyond the money, the artifact possessed the crucial delay skill. He absolutely needed it. That is why he wanted that stone so desperately. Back in the present, with the monsters dead, Shin Sangyun reminds everyone that they use a contribution-based loot system. Since he cleared every single monster completely solo, he should claim all the drops, all the rewards. Hearing this, Yun Dikayong realizes the delay skill is his true target, but a rookie talking this big is never going to be accepted easily by the other party members. Some veterans complain that Shin Sangyun is getting way too arrogant. Just because he successfully took out a few basic orcs doesn't mean he makes the rules. Yet, to everyone's shock, the team leader actually agrees to the rookie's demands. He issues a challenge. If the party fails to defeat the boss, Shin Sangyun has to defeat the boss completely solo. Only then can he keep all the drops. For our protagonist, this is absolutely perfect. He already planned on fighting alone anyway. The leader tells the kid to do as he pleases. Deep down, Yun Dikayong expects this brat to get himself killed sooner or later. A classic overconfident rookie. He decides it is better to let the kid learn his lesson out in the field. Real experience is what really matters, not empty pride. Soon after, the leader opens the boss room to face their enemy. The colossal beast is chained inside the final chamber, and that glittering scarlet stone sits right beside it. Yun Dikayong commands everyone to brace for battle. He figures the boss looks terrifying, but official guild guides claim this is not a difficult opponent for a full party, but fighting it solo, nobody stands a chance. So Yun Dikayong and his veteran team move forward to attack, but before long, they are completely crushed. The leader cannot understand why he struggled so hard. Our protagonist watches them fall. He thinks Yun Dikayong charged in with so much confidence that he almost expected them to win. But he remembers how he acted with that exact same foolishness in his past life and has absolutely zero intention of repeating those mistakes today. 1. Battered party member begs the leader to fall back, screaming that they stand no chance. Yun Dikayong accepts that the guild guidebooks are not 100% reliable and orders an immediate retreat. Hearing this, our protagonist knows it is his turn to act. Yun Dikayong realizes the kid is actually stepping up. Regardless, the beaten leader and his allies hastily back away. He asks if Shin Sangyun seriously intends to fight completely solo, warning that he won't take any responsibility if the monster destroys him. Shin Sangyun calmly tells the leader not to worry about him, declaring that victory is guaranteed. Right on cue, the monstrous boss takes the initiative and attacks. Our hero knows that fighting this behemoth Head-on in a fair match means suicide, but luckily, he has a secret card. Up his sleeve, Shin Seonghayan has plenty of combat experience against these beasts. When his attack gets blocked, the monster is left stunned. Not just the boss, but the other adventurers are stunned too. The young hunter thinks that for now he needs to keep dodging and stick to his strategy until the very end. He is aiming for the Scarlet Stone, knowing the delay skill will pair incredibly well with his current abilities. His artifact devouring power lets him combine completely separate skills, and playing this to his advantage will bring him massive strength. Now he casually taunts the beast. Furious, the orc charges in, because the blind monster relies entirely on sound to track him. Shin Seonghayan uses this weakness to his full advantage. He easily outpaces the giant, stepping into its blind spot and landing a heavy strike. Under the impact, the orc drops its massive axe, leaving it completely unarmed. The young warrior uses his skills to freeze the boss for several seconds, watching close by. Yun Dikayong wonders if a skill with that much power is even real. Against a boss, Shin Seonghayan knows that despite their massive strength, these beasts are pretty predictable, but then a sudden distraction hits him. Taking his eyes off the target for just a split second allows the beast to strike. Talk about a close call. Shin Seonghayan had momentarily forgotten a crucial detail about these monsters: orcs can rapidly heal themselves. Freezing it again is going to be tough, which makes that delay skill even more critical right now. For now, his only real path forward is a direct attack. Against the beast, Shin Seonghayan unleashes his true power and holds nothing back. Meanwhile, a teammate desperately tries to convince Yun Dikayong to abandon the dungeon, leaving Shin Seonghayan behind to buy them time. He fears the beast will crush the kid and wants to escape before that happens, but Yun Dikayong stays focused, noticing that no matter how deadly the orc is, Shin Seonghayan faces it down with a massive smile. On his face, the leader wonders if this kid is actually a rookie. The protagonist knows the real story. He understands that when your raw stats are too low, you have to channel every ounce of your power directly into one sharp point. He even plans to redirect the beast's own crushing force against it. Shin Seonghayan strikes with blinding speed. With one clean move, he manages to pierce the boss right through a vital spot, bringing the massive orc down for good. He claims every single victory bonus and realizes he has already unlocked 2 massive reward titles. Solo runs are seriously the best. Then the group leader approaches. Yun Dikayong's expression says absolutely everything about his utter disbelief. Seeing this, Shin Seonghayan realizes he has to play it smart. He immediately starts pretending the battle was a brutal, exhausting struggle, claiming the group hadn't weakened the boss first. He never could have one. One of the hunters easily buys the story, but Yun Dikayong suspects things don't add up. He has a feeling this kid is hiding a massive secret. Shin Seonghayan just hopes they buy his cover story. Either way, right on cue, a rare item drops from the fallen beast. It's the Scarlet Stone. The leader knows that as promised they can't keep this reward since they didn't defeat the boss, so he prepares to hand. He announces that the mid-boss is finally down, meaning it is time to prepare for the final boss. With that, they quickly continue their expedition deep into the dungeon. Shin Seonghayan stays behind with the drop, expecting to get exactly what he wanted. Some time later, the young warrior heads all the way back to the unconscious farm. Strangely, the newly collected artifact has transformed into hot pork stew. Looking at the incredibly delicious meal, he figures there is no way this could taste bad. He swallows it down, absorbing the strange item and unlocking a skill called Delay. Shin Seonghayan is feeling incredibly nervous now. He has waited a long time. Suddenly, he realizes his new skill can be combined with Demon Bash, multiplying the destructive power of both moves. The protagonist never noticed this hidden synergy before. Indeed, he holds a massive advantage now. He had heard rumors of this combination before, but since he had never witnessed anyone actually pull off the move, he never expected it to work. Suddenly, the raid leader Yun Dikayong interrupts his silent moment, asking for a word with our hero. He says the next challenge is the final boss room, the deadly orc berserker. Shockingly to Shin Seonghayan, the party leader does not tell him to sit on the sidelines like he did last time. Yun Dikayong says failing to utilize an elite fighter like Shin Seonghayan means he does not deserve to lead. He will be counting on the protagonist from now on, promising that their original agreements remain completely the Soon, one of the raid members loudly announces they are ready to move. Forward, this particular member is clearly unhappy about all the positive attention the protagonist is receiving, and Shin Sang-hyun instantly senses the cold tension. Regardless, the leader announces that once this run is finished, they are all going out for drinks to ease the heavy tension. Immediately after that, they reach the ultimate chamber, where the massive boss radiates an incredibly powerful aura, and the raid party is shaken. Still, Yoon Di-kyung vows to go first. Unfazed, our protagonist steps directly to the front and commands the rest to follow behind him. Shin Sang-hyun knows this boss has weaker defenses than the elite monster he faced earlier, meaning landing a reliable stun should not be hard as long as he stays calm. Honestly, he is quite surprised by his sudden confidence, realizing he never acted with such bold certainty in his past life. When he was young, he lived in constant fear, and as he grew, his sole goal was survival at all costs. Therefore, he concludes that this time around, things absolutely must be different because he needs to evolve if he wants to avoid another miserable, tragic ending. He knows it will not be easy, but to truly prove his worth, he must achieve spectacular things, so everyone around him can witness what he is capable of. And the hero is absolutely right. Suddenly, the leader witnesses his unbelievable, crushing strength. Shin Sang-hyun quickly triggers his skill combo to paralyze the enemy. Seeing the stun, Yoon Di-kyung immediately orders the attack. Paralyzed, the boss cannot react in time and becomes a target for the whole party. It does not take long for the mighty berserker to collapse, to the point where they wonder if the entire dungeon boss fight was somehow too easy. They realize Shin Sang-hyun was massive help, and they seriously consider inviting him to join as an official member. Meanwhile, our protagonist calmly observes how much their attitudes have completely flipped compared to how poorly they treated him at first. But he declines. He is determined to grow stronger entirely on his own. He is collecting titles he never could have earned in his past life. Even so, Shin Sang-hyun knows he is still far from the legendary Phantom Swordsman. Compared to the great Kyung-soo, he feels like a complete novice. Kyung-soo is Korea's ultimate adventurer, holding the title of the perfect swordsman. He possesses countless titles and holds an almost mythical reputation. Within just 2 years, that monster had already surpassed level 500. It was a level Shin Sang-hyun never even dreamed of in his previous run. With this second chance at life, his sole mission is reaching that exact peak, and he knows he can keep pushing. That is the only way to make this dream a reality. Soon after, Yoon Di-kyung walks over and hands him a solid reward. The leader admits Shin Sang-hyun carried the entire team and earned this prize. He says it is not incredibly valuable, but serves as a token of gratitude. Deep down, the protagonist knows the leader is just playing nice for now. Yoon Di-kyung simply wants a clean break, knowing they will never meet again. Though the transaction feels cold, Shin Sang-hyun accepts the reality of this world. Do not get attached. In this cruel world, connections are a liability. And of course, someone is already watching with pure, burning jealousy. The toxic teammate cannot stand seeing the rookie walk away with all the loot. This isn't over. He grabs his phone to call in some serious backup. Later at home, Shin Sang-hyun counts his 6 million won reward. That is a massive fortune compared to what a lowly carrier usually makes. To make things better, he also secured a bonus, the Berserker's Ring. It is a low-level boss drop, but it still boosts his stamina. Free gear is always welcome, and he knows exactly how to use it. Most hunters exhaust their mana reserves before they can even swing their blades. This ring acts as a perfect countermeasure, but he is no average player. Awakening past 50 is rough, but his mind is packed with experience. Decades were spent studying these exact items during his miserable past life. Those mana-dependent artifacts always come with a pretty nasty side effect. Over time, however, that heavy penalty is completely bypassed. Penalties do not scare him. His sole focus is gathering powerful skills. Meanwhile, over at a luxury private club in Gangnam, trouble is brewing. The blonde teammate is aggressively demanding backup for some petty revenge. His mobster buddy tells him to relax, laughing off his pathetic anger. The mob boss questions why his crew should waste time on some personal grudge. Desperate, the blonde insists that Shin Sang-hyun is hiding a massive fortune. Wealth is supposedly the only reason the rookie grew so strong so fast. Annoyed by his whining, one of the gangsters suddenly slices his ear. They make it painfully clear that they do not take orders from him. The cold enforcer tells him he bled because he forgot his place. A painful lesson, but greed takes over and he demands the target's location. Where exactly is Shin Sang-hyun hiding? They need to find out. At that moment, the protagonist is taking a quiet breath at a training ground. Resting for a moment, he recalls that when the berserker ring became food. It tasted like cucumber soup, a dish he absolutely detests, but still. He knows the sacrifice was worth it. His sword is lighter now, making it much easier to swing while giving a nice boost to his attacks. Carrying the longsword around for a bit seems like the best way to get used to it. Next, he starts planning his next move, taking a quick look at his stats he realizes he needs to catch the eyes of some powerful constellations. But he must act carefully. Ideally, he wants one that aligns with his highest stat, which is luck. Unfortunately, his power is still too low to get their attention, leaving him with only one option: brutal training. After pushing his limits, Shin Sang-hyun heads straight toward a dungeon portal. Pushing through 3 days of training without sleep and driving for hours is exhausting. But the grind paid off. He successfully mastered the art of wielding a two-handed longsword, and he is ready to test it in a real fight. Finding a solo dungeon in the capital would have taken way too long, which is why he traveled out to this remote area to find an empty one. But he is not alone. Shin Sang-hyun noticed a car tailing him all the way up this quiet mountain road, though he has no idea why. Either way, he figures he can settle this matter inside the dungeon itself. As soon as Shin Sang-hyun steps through, a group of thugs follows him inside. He points out that this is strictly a solo instance, so there is no way. They accidentally wandered in here. Since he arrived first, he is not giving up his priority claim. The gang leader chuckles, noting that Shin Sang-hyun is far sharper than their client claimed. You can tell they have bad intentions. Scanning his enemies, he quickly realizes they are a targeted hit squad. He also notices there are absolutely no healers or mages among them. With only swordsmen and archers, they are player hunters, and he is the prey. The gang members sneer, telling him he is going to disappear right here. And nobody outside will ever find out. In his past life, he recalls, these outlaw teams were completely crushed by the Adventurers Association. In small groups like this, archers are always the most dangerous threat. Knowing this, he smiles and warns them he has not been standing around doing nothing. Soon there will be 4 dead bodies on the ground, so how do they plan to explain that when they return to the surface? A thug gets extremely angry, but the leader tells him to keep his cool and do this easily. The giant among them, though, is not interested in talking. Shin Sang-hyun mocks him, telling the brute he should listen to his boss. Enraged, the giant charges forward. In a dungeon, survival of the fittest is the only law that matters. Monsters have always hunted him, just like greedy human players who try to steal artifacts from others. Honestly, people are far more dangerous than monsters since dungeons have no laws. In here it is kill or be killed, which is the most valuable lesson he learned in his previous life, and it is the exact truth that kept him alive. Because of that, he considers everything that follows to be simple self-defense. The giant is the first to fall, and Shin Sang-hyun coldly asks who is next. They charge, irritated. The rest of them rush in as the leader barks out a plan. He wants to create some distance and tells the archer to cover him. But the archer is frozen, still shocked from watching his massive ally fall. That big guy was a total idiot, sure, but he was still incredibly strong. How could a newly awakened rookie take down someone like that so fast? Realizing they are facing a total monster, he unleashes a volley of arrows. But it is completely useless, as Shin Sang-hyun deflects every shot effortlessly. The archer is frozen. That split-second distraction completely ruins him. The leader realizes Shin Sang-hyun just threw his longsword like a heavy spear. He threw it with 0 effort, which means the kid is now completely unarmed. This is the perfect opening to strike before Shin Sang-hyun can recover it. Thinking the target is completely defenseless, the leader rushes in headfirst. His last remaining ally follows close behind as Shin Sang-hyun sprints for his blade. The enemies sprint to stop him. Too late, they are just too slow. With a slick last-second dodge, Shin Sang-hyun grabs his weapon right on time. Now the tables are turned. In just moments, Shin Sang-hyun wraps the fight up. He wanted to avoid a messy brawl, but the skirmish serves a great purpose. It boosted his stats nicely, pushing his level straight to 50. Even better, he loots a recovery ring from the reckless brute he defeated. He pauses, looking back on the fight. Shin Sang-hyun has a sobering thought. Relying blindly on the rigidity effect could have ended very badly for him. He must stay alert. Meanwhile, deeper in the dungeon, goblins are busy mining. They are hard at work when a sudden visitor completely catches them off guard. Suddenly, Shin Sang-hyun appears. Yes, he is completely blindfolded as he walks in. He is chasing the Lucky Day title, which requires defeating 500 monsters while blindfolded. The goblins are totally baffled. Why is this blindfolded guy just standing there? It looks like he is staring them down without even using his eyes. Shin Sang-hyun silently wonders when they will strike, sensing their presence all around. He cannot see a thing, so he must rely entirely on sound and tread extremely carefully. He sharpens his focus, tuning in to the slightest vibration in the quiet cave. Honestly, it is pure madness, but somehow he gets the hang of it instantly. When the first goblin lunges, Shin Sang-hyun counters with flawless precision. He sweeps through the rest of the pack, absolutely loving this incredible new sensation. Suddenly, his sharp ears pick up a ranged attack flying straight from the darkness. No problem, he catches the arrow midair, completely stunning the shooter. Shin Sang-hyun admits this dangerous day brings back some deep memories. Those old memories trigger something deep, and his perception suddenly awakens. Completely fearless now, he dares the rest of the horde to step up. The goblins do not hesitate, charging him all at once from every side. But they are systematically dismantled. Shin Sang-hyun shows absolutely no mercy to them. He shows zero mercy. Pure despair washes over the remaining monsters. After clearing the entire room, the system finally grants him his new title. He takes off the blindfold, but the threat is not entirely over yet. A fresh patrol of goblins arrives only to find a total slaughterhouse. Looking up, Shin Sang-hyun spots the newcomers and readies himself for more. Farming a bit more experience never hurts. Once the field is cleared, he celebrates boosting his luck stat. Leaving the dungeon, he starts calculating his massive profits from slaughtering all those goblins, but then, out of nowhere, the entire room suddenly plunges into total darkness. At last, Shin Sang-hyun is about to receive his ultimate reward. 3 legendary constellations have appeared, forcing him to choose between them. Staring at the divine entities manifested right before his eyes, Shin Sang-hyun notes how incredibly fast everything is moving. When the goddess steps forward, his confidence wavers, and he starts to feel anxious. He honestly has no idea how to react to this situation. Nothing like this ever happened during his past life. Shockingly, she reveals her interest, calling him the most fascinating swordsman she has met. Shin Sang-hyun humbly replies that he is fortunate, while thinking, with massive relief, that all 3 entities want a contract. He knows the janitor of the fallen dimension is attracted solely to killers, meaning his goblin hunt grabbed its attention. Meanwhile, the pilgrim of the Great Expanse only shows interest in players destined to become holy saints, leaving Shin Sang-hyun clueless about how he caught its eye. He assumes it followed the goddess, given her unmatched popularity among other high-tier constellations. Either way, she explains she has no specific demands and promises to remain open even if he signs with someone else. He realizes this is a cheat-level advantage. His luck is unmatched. Believe it or not, back in his past, he only knew of one player who could pull off a multi-contract, the legendary miracle archer. Hashimoto Yuki was the greatest marksman of his era, never missing a target and possessing infinite arrows, all thanks to his 2 divine patrons. That backing made the impossible possible. Looking at them, Shin Sang-hyun admits he is unprepared for this and requests a brief moment to think. However, the cosmic beings immediately demand his decision because they absolutely refuse to wait around. While the goddess of luck is amazing, accepting her contract means locking out all other potential divine patrons. Shin Sang-hyun remembers that during his first 10 years as an adventurer, only a single low-tier constellation ever reached out to offer him a contract. It was the late exemplary student, possessing a truly magnificent form. Despite his miserable struggles, Shin Sang-hyun believed a glorious path lay ahead with his new patron, yet nothing changed until he turned 55, completely failing to draw upon the true, unbridled power of his constellation. He only got to witness that absolute power after regressing to start over. For that second chance, he is profoundly grateful, but caution is necessary. since a single mistake in this life could ruin everything for good. His choices lay between divine light, destructive force, and overwhelming power. Multipliers or a massive boost to his base luck, weighing his options. Shin Sunghyun ultimately accepts the contract with the goddess of luck, she declares the pact valid for 30 years, ensuring protection even if he. She congratulates Shin Sangyun on the contract, mentioning 15 other friendly constellations cheer him on. But there is a catch. She warns that some powerful forces are not happy. 3 hostile constellations are determined to drag him down. Shin Sangyun wishes both himself and the goddess good luck. She praises him for making a wise choice, wishing both of them luck on this journey. Then she hands over his new perks, leaving him completely stunned. These fresh abilities are absolutely broken, but she says it is just the beginning. His own hard work earned this contract, but now she wonders about the others. No thanks, he flatly rejects the other 2 cosmic forces. The Pilgrim of the Great Expanse agrees to wait for their next encounter. But the janitor of the fallen dimension issues a chilling warning. It vows to crush him. He will pay for this rejection. Still, with the goddess of luck on his side, he is not sweating it. He knows better opportunities will come his way sooner or later. Armed with his new pact, he marches straight into the boss chamber. The goddess watches closely as her chosen warrior goes to work. He unleashes his newly acquired power, forcing the boss onto the defensive. This greedy goblin lord is no joke, boasting some seriously massive stats. Seeing its entire army wiped out, the boss boils with pure rage. But get this, that blind rage triggers a fatal mistake. It enters the overload state, which is exactly what he wanted. Sure, it is not as lethal as a stun, but it does something better. It drains the target's will to fight entirely. The beast strikes with everything it has, but its massive blow misses. Shin Sangyun effortlessly slips away, already imagining how he will steal its unique skill. Now is the perfect moment to test his brand new luck in battle. He has the ultimate target standing right in front of him, ready for a beating. He lands a punishing blow, leaving the massive beast completely frozen in shock. He completely dominates the pace of this fight from start to finish. With his powers working in perfect sync, he unleashes a rapid flurry of strikes. He hammers the beast, telling it that escape is absolutely impossible now. After a relentless barrage, the massive goblin lord finally collapses. Shin Sangyun exhales deeply, celebrating a hard-earned victory and a sweet stat boost. The fight dragged on, but he is just glad the nightmare is over. He spent 3 straight days training, without getting a single wink of sleep. Then he fought a whole gang, over 500 goblins and this boss. The goddess is amazed by his insane luck, finding it hard to believe. Standing strong after all those challenges is nothing short of a miracle. She notes that luck is a true skill, happy to back such a winner. Shin Sangyun pulls up his status window to check his luck stat. It has soared past 100 points, unlocking a massive bonus threshold. This means his luck is now actively boosting every other combat ability. His overall success rate across the board has reached an all-time high. Even better, this insane stat directly boosts his chances of getting rare items. Thanks to that, the defeated boss drops a highly coveted silver rank shield. Of gear, Shin Sanghyun is thrilled thanks to the goddess he secured a guaranteed artifact. He knows this baby is going to be incredibly useful later. He immediately syncs his mana with the shield, making the goddess absolutely ecstatic. She is practically buzzing, but later, near Jamsel's station, things take a turn. His latest proposal gets rejected flat out. He tries pleading with the attendant, but she refuses to budge. Still, Shin Sanghyun is not about to quit. He simply cannot afford to. Just 2 hours ago, while driving, he realized something. The boss shield had basically bought him a massive meal, thanks to his luck. But right on cue, his car starts lighting up with warning signs. The engine is failing, he needs a new ride and he needs it fast. Which is a nightmare, because moving houses is already costing him a fortune. With another major expense piling up, he thinks back to that brutal attack. Shin Sanghyun decides his safest bet is moving to the highly secure player city. It has constant surveillance, but the rent is absolutely brutal. He would have to sacrifice his gear budget for rent, plus a new car. No matter how he looks at it, he desperately needs cash, right now. And there is only one place that can solve this financial crisis. The Adventurers Association. Joining up means high-paying, high-risk missions. But back in the present, the the receptionist is completely shutting him down. She outright refuses to let Shin Sanghyan enter a level 100 dungeon. She tells him to take an easier quest, but he stubbornly insists. He promises he won't cause trouble, fully confident he can handle it. Even at level 17, the receptionist sighs, remembering another overconfident rookie. That guy said the exact same thing, and he did not make it back. She's not letting another kid die. Honestly, you can't really blame her. But Shin Sanghyan is a regressor. He knows exactly what he is doing. Right in the middle of their argument, a striking figure walks up. It is Kim Miso, a high-tier adventurer from the legendary Eden Guild. He knows her instantly. She is the devastating shooter, famous across the country. The very first to hit level 100, but that is not all. She is the daughter of the powerful tycoon, Kim Yuncheol. Her squad features Shin Teal, the absolute deadliest assassin in South Korea. Alongside him stands Cho Jinho, one of the finest swordsmen alive. They are all elite powerhouses, belonging to the massive Eden Guild. Essentially, Kim Miso is the ultimate gold spoon of the adventurer world. She has got it all. Miso looks at our main character curiously. She admits she has never seen him before, wondering why he is desperate. Why does a low-level rookie want a level 100 dungeon? Onlookers assume she is just pitying him. Only rookies make requests like this. It looks like suicide, but he answers her quite calmly. He needs money, and yes, he knows exactly what he is facing. He actually remembers begging to join her guild in his past life. Even though she rejected him back then, he holds absolutely no grudge. She drops a reality check. Does he know he cannot enter alone? Solo entries are strictly banned. No team, no dungeon. It is that simple. Right then, Shin Sanghyan suddenly remembers that solo adventure missions are locked. He completely forgot about that rule. Apologizing for the trouble, he turns to leave, but Kim Miso stops him with an unexpected offer. She invites Shin Sanghyan to raid the dungeon together. Nearby players watch on. Jaw-dropped and green with envy, our protagonist meanwhile just wonders what she is really scheming. She quickly clears up the mystery, claiming she only wants to guide a rookie, but Shin Sanghyan is not easily convinced. He makes it clear he does not trust strangers. Kim Miso shrugs it off, saying there are no special rules to join, but warns that if he drags her down, he will have to pay. Hearing this, Shin Sanghyan realizes she is trying to test him. He knows Kim Miso is way more than just another top-tier hunter. She is a famous model, whose fashion choices sell out instantly, but if she spots an overconfident rookie, she will absolutely destroy their career without a second thought. Before walking in, she knew most of her guild members were busy, meaning she desperately needed to find a partner for her next big run. Seeing Shin Sanghyan practically pleading for any mission made her curious. Due to the strict minimum party size rule, he was completely stuck. Yet to Kim Miso, this guy looked incredibly collected and full of quiet confidence. Since he was an unknown variable, she wanted to see his real skills. Back in the lobby, she asks what mission he originally requested. The receptionist reveals it is a grueling defense mission to eliminate everything on the path. For the Guardian Tower, Kim Miso cannot believe he chose this task. Most rookies choose easy collection quests, not a brutal defense run. This specific run requires wiping out every single monster to succeed. Usually a full party of 4 is highly recommended, yet he wanted to solo it, which Kim Miso thinks is absolute suicide. Shin Sanghyan asks if she is getting cold feet already. He is fine working together. Bold move, right, but he tells her she can bring more people if she is scared. Kim Miso just scoffs. Not happening. She thinks just the two of them are more than enough to crush this dungeon. The moment they lock in the quest, they are immediately teleported. The receptionist prays for their safety, while the crowd stares in utter shock. Even knowing her incredible skills, they do not see how she and a total rookie can clear a 4-man defense map alone. However, one veteran points out that the association recently made a new tier system to measure exact player strength and scale dungeons. The system grades people on 2 distinct criteria. First is clear count, and the second key metric is a player's raw combat sense. Kim Miso hit the A+ rank entirely on her combat instinct. That means there are no known monsters stronger than her around. That rookie is incredibly lucky to tag along with a true powerhouse of that caliber. Now inside the dungeon, Kim Miso takes the rear guard position. As an archer, she wants to hold up her end of the bargain and keep Shin Sung-hyan safe if. She is keeping her end of the deal, promising to protect him if things get ugly. Before things get out of hand, she still thinks Shin Sang-yun is way too overconfident and it'll cost him. She figures this brutal mission will teach him a lesson. 30 minutes earlier, Shin Sang-yun asked her to step in, only if absolutely necessary, promising that if she did, he'd give her 5% of the profit. Kim Miso was happy to accept 5% just to watch. But she warned him that clearing this dungeon alone was utterly impossible. With at least 300 enemies swarming the area, she believed this raid would be too brutal even for high-level players. Even so, the young fighter insisted he could do it, so Kim Miso demanded 1% for every beast he failed to slay. If he let 95 of them slip past, she would get absolutely nothing. Back in the present, Shin Sang-yun faces the wolves. Fully convinced he won't leave a single scrap for Kim Miso, he plans to take them all down before she even gets a chance to move. With that, he charges at the beasts from her high vantage point. Kim Miso can watch his every move. And get this, she quickly realizes he's not some loudmouthed amateur, but a remarkably skilled fighter. His stance is designed for maximum reach, something Kim Miso has only ever seen in her own teammate. On top of that, she notices he wastes zero movement, slicing through several beasts with every single strike. Still, she worries it won't be enough because a massive horde is surrounding Shin Sang-yun, and these aren't enemies a level 17 warrior can easily handle. But then Kim Miso spots something strange. All the beasts suddenly freeze mid-attack. She quickly realizes that Shin Sang-yun just stunned the entire pack. She's so shocked she completely loses her balance and nearly tumbles from her high ledge. Either way, she now understands why Shin Sang-yun was so cocky from the start, but she still can't help wondering where this crazy guy came from. Shin Sang-yun keeps tearing through the horde, slaughtering the smaller wolves before finally standing face to face with their massive leader, the terrifying black wolf. Shin Sang-yun is certain he's never fought this beast before, yet feels a strange familiarity with its dark energy. He quickly notices the alpha has the exact same skill, stun. Even from a distance, Kim Miso gets hit, but a protective artifact keeps her from being paralyzed. She barely escaped that. Still, she assumes the young warrior wasn't as lucky, meaning she has to step in and save his life. Kim Miso knows that even if he can stun enemies, a fighter of such a low level cannot easily shake off a powerful boss with the same ability, but she is quickly proven wrong when she spots him moving freely, utterly stunned at how Shin Sang-yun is breaking the rules. Besides his insane combat instincts, she is witnessing him manipulate high-level powers effortlessly at level 17. Even the giant wolf freezes in pure shock, watching its prey shrug off the attack. Unable to believe he broke free from its deadly hold, capitalizing on that moment. Absolute panic, Shin Sang-yun spots the perfect opening to strike, and with a single devastating critical blow, he slays the beast. Right after, the hero complains his clothes are completely ruined, but since he's already here, he's ready for a little more action. From afar, Kim Miso is left completely speechless by his performance, wondering how someone like Shin Sang-yun went unnoticed. After his levels rise, he is scaling up fast, but something feels off. Constant surveillance. Shin Sang-hyan realizes Kim Miso is watching his every move. Her doubts should be completely gone, but this deadly mission is far from over. The final boss awaits. Deep in the shadows, the Wolf Lord stirs. It lunges. Shin Sang-hyan slips past, entirely untouched by the beast. Chaotic patterns. The monster attacks with irregular, unpredictable strikes. But 30 years from now, humanity will analyze every single pattern. He already knows them. The hunter strikes back hard. The blade clashes, but physical resistance shields the giant beast from harm. Watch closely. His sheer combat flow leaves her completely spellbound. She sees him swing that massive greatsword like a light feather. Unbelievable weight, handled effortlessly. Shin Sang-hyan continues the intense duel. Claw swipes rain down. He stands firm, using his blade as a shield. That defense proves it. Kim Miso realizes he is predicting the wolf. She is utterly baffled. Why does he fight with such desperate intensity? Every single strike feels like a statement, raising endless questions in her mind. The clash drags on. This fight is taking much longer than anticipated. Tricks exhausted, Shin Sang-hyan has used every card in his hand. Nothing is left, yet this savage wolf lord keeps raging with endless energy. Pure exhaustion. At this rate, he might collapse on the cold floor. Then the monster readies itself, aiming directly for a massive charge. A trap is set. The wolf baits him with a heavy overhead strike. And believe me, that brutal follow-up pierce has claimed countless lives. No choice left. A deadly gamble is his only way out. He drives his sword forward, drawing blood as the wolf pushes through. Shock and horror, Kim Miso watches the scene unfold in absolute panic. The untouchable hunter just took a devastating, direct blow to the chest. Fear grips her. Seeing him collapse sends cold dread through her veins. She let her guard down, mesmerized by his incredible, overwhelming skills. Her hesitation cost him. Now she is too late to help. Tears stream down. She starts to apologize, but a sudden light erupts. A blinding radiance bursts forward right now, resetting everything she thought she knew. Moments ago, Shin Sanghayan discussed a strange healing skill with his constellation. The bizarre catch, it could only protect one single body part. Strange but useful, he decided to ward his most vulnerable target. The abdomen, he sacrificed a rare orc shield to forge this barrier. It was a massive gamble, but the protective barrier worked exactly as planned. Any other spot meant death. Luckily, the beast struck the right place. The trap snapped shut. The wolf landed its strike right on his target. Reflected impact, the crushing force turned directly back onto the monster. With one quick slice, he severs the beast's arm, shattering its defense. Its thick resistance is completely gone, leaving it open for one final blow. The giant wolf falls. Slowly, a stunned Kim Miso walks toward him. He chuckles, saying his stun trigger worked 3 times during the chaos. Then he grins, asking why she finally decided to come out of hiding. She snaps that he should have shared his plan since she was truly worried. Back when she thought he had died, she demands to know how he already knew. Every single one of the enemies attack patterns, wondering if this is Shin Sunghayan's second life or something crazy like that. Kim Miso admits she has met plenty of adventurers, but he is the first one who has ever left her completely speechless. She never knows how he will surprise her next, but our hero just grins. He asks if she enjoyed the show, though Shin Sunghayan quickly senses some sudden tension. He notices Kim Miso looking rather suspicious now. She speaks up, sounding highly analytical. Watching him fight is like watching a seasoned veteran, not some green rookie. Panic hits him. He realizes he came dangerously close to blowing his own cover. To break the tension, Kim Miso points out that the beast is still breathing. She asks if Shin Sunghayan plans to finish it. He looks down and nods. The monster is barely hanging on, so he decides to end its suffering immediately. With the final strike, he unlocks his very first rank C title for solo combat. Kim Miso reveals she already has that title from her own solo clear. But she honestly admits that, unlike our protagonist, she needed a major advantage. She relied heavily on a powerful artifact. Shin Sunghayan points out that takes skill too. Finding good gear is its own talent, and she smiles, thanking him for that. She keeps quiet about the price tag, which was a staggering 200 million won. Comparing her high-end gear to his basic, cheap longsword is not even fair. Shifting focus, she suggests that Shin Sunghayan should test out his brand new title. But the protagonist instantly realizes they are the only 2 people left around here. He has absolutely no desire to fight such a strong opponent while completely exhausted. Though he declines, hearing this, Kim Miso decides to take her leave first. She wants to head out first and call in a recovery team for the loot. He would have done that himself, but he is just too tired right now. Still, he is glad he made a fantastic impression on her. Then, a surprise comes. Before walking away, Kim Miso announces she is giving up her 5% cut. Shin Sunghayan insists that is not right and wants to pay her back somehow. She promises they will have plenty of future chances to party up again. She tells him to view it as an investment. Shin Sunghayan takes a breath. He realizes he absolutely cannot let his guard down around this clever girl. With the area cleared, he can finally claim the prize he came here for. The legendary Blue Moon Stone. He is thrilled to finally hold this top-tier item. This is a genuine platinum rank artifact, a true masterpiece of gear. It is easily worth 1 billion won, enough to buy an apartment in Seoul. Suddenly, the goddess of luck claims all the credit belongs to her divine favor. Our hero argues back, insisting his own blood, sweat, and tears won this reward. Just then, the constellation of Torn Lips jumps in with a loud objection. They propose banning the goddess of luck, but she refuses to accept that. She will not let anyone question her blessing, leaving him in the middle. Still, he can absorb 40% of the platinum artifact's attributes before selling. Doing this will make him absolutely unbeatable against any canine monsters. He will dominate dogs and wolves under a full moon. Later, he exits. He steps through the dungeon portal, only to freeze at the unexpected sight. On the other side, a massive crowd gathers for his return. Mission Manager is incredibly relieved, having never believed Shin Sang-yun could actually pull off this impossible task all by himself. Just then, Kim Miso speaks up with a calm smile. She admits she wouldn't have let a raw rookie take on that insane dungeon alone. But after witnessing his absurd power, they need to keep a close eye on him. Honestly, Shin Sang-yun totally forgot about her, and now he feels pretty bad. He realizes just how genuinely terrified she was that he might not make it. Suddenly, hungry guild recruiters swarm him, but Kim Miso quickly steps in. She boldly claims the young rookie already has urgent business to sort out with her. This clever move completely shuts down any other offers. She turns to him, smiling. She expects him to agree, he does, but he remains highly suspicious. What is she planning? He has no idea. Still, he plays along. A bit later, he is riding in a luxury limo, checking his phone. His massive reward money already cleared fast, and she smiles, claiming credit. Her elite A-rank carriers cleaned the dungeon fast, but her influence definitely helped too. The young man politely thanks her, but deep down, he knows something is coming. Sure enough, she wastes no time, making him highly suspicious of her moves. But get this, she gets straight to the point and invites him. He is officially invited to Eden, her powerhouse guild. He notes her confidence. She seems entirely convinced he'll say yes without a single second thought. She chuckles, promising there's a reason for the name, and Shin Sang-yun won't regret it. His mind wanders back. Before his sudden regression, he was just a small-time guild member. He actually liked being accepted by people back then. Everything was completely fine, right until that horrific, traumatic accident. Knowing what he knows now, he believes flying solo is his absolute safest option. Without wasting any more of her time, he flatly rejects her big invitation. She looks surprised, asking if he actually plans on running a one-man guild. He praises her sharp mind, but she casually reminds him who she really is. As a director's daughter, tracking Shin Sang-yun's insane potential was child's play. It wasn't hard to guess his next move. Still, she has her own agenda. She wants to be the only person who truly understands his raw strength. Hearing this, Shin Sang-yun realizes she's showing her cards and genuine interest. She isn't playing around. She's offering a real, mutually beneficial partnership. Now that is how you negotiate, building a win-win deal instantly. A bit later, he heads straight into the city for C-rank players. He arrives at a high-end apartment to hear a direct buyout proposal. Despite the agent's friendly smile, the sheer terms of the deal feel intimidating. She claims this deal is perfect for both sides, thanking him for choosing them. Shin Sang-yun can't believe how incredibly fast everything went. He figures the goddess of luck is finally smiling down on him today. Moving in is incredibly easy since he barely owns anything anyway. Sitting in his new room, he reflects on his chaotic journey so far. Since his unexpected regression, he's spent 2 frantic days trying to adapt. Confused and lost, he had to make some heavy choices very fast. But that wild feeling of warm blood rushing through his veins feels incredible. After all that, he refused to sit still, chasing down everything he missed in his past life. Ever since that moment, doors began opening and opportunities just kept coming. Back in the present, Shin Sang-hyun is caught completely off guard when he realizes a famous reporter named Park Young-min from the Adventurers Gazette has been snooping. He claims news travels fast and that he heard Shin Sang-hyun was currently in the exact same area as Kim Miso, quickly asking if they can talk. Shortly after, Kim Miso drops him off at home, but tells him that her guild is planning to clear an unknown portal soon, and she wants to know if he will join them. She explains it is a 4-person team for players at level 120 or below, so she totally understands if he declines. But to her surprise, Shin Sang-hyun accepts right away. After all, he rejected the guild invitation so coldly that she assumed he would turn this down too. But he is genuinely interested in entering a high-level portal. He does not care about anything else. Dungeons have fixed locations, meaning monsters and traps follow predictable patterns. Portals, on the other hand, are dynamic and constantly changing, making them the total opposite. but even so, Shin Sang-hyun knows that a higher risk means a much bigger reward. Plus, entering an unknown portal for the very first time offers a unique opportunity. He might secure a high-level artifact, and Kim Miso likely has tons of experience with these unstable rifts. Otherwise, there is no way she could shrug off debuffs like the bite from the Black Wolf. With his agreement, Kim Miso suggests exchanging contact details, handing him her phone so he can type his number, but she accidentally reveals something she should not have. What is she hiding? She instantly realizes her slip-up and gets flustered. She admits her mind has been a complete mess lately. Still, they swap numbers. Once home, Shin Sang-hyun reflects on her odd behavior, sensing something is off. But he assumes all high-ranking hunters go through their own rough patches. He has plenty of secrets himself, and he cannot go around talking about his own past. He cannot even begin to imagine the chaos if anyone found out about his regression. Staring at the ceiling, he wonders about the constellation that helped him turn back time. They spent years together, after all. He naturally worries about his old friend. Meanwhile, over at the Eden Guild, Cho Jin-ho is chilling in the VIP lounge, complaining that he wanted to chat with Kim Miso, but she will not take her eyes off her phone. She says she is coordinating with Shin Sang-hyun for an upcoming raid. Cho Jin-ho perks up, asking if this is the exact same guy who boasts a much stronger stun skill than his and who flatly rejected joining their elite guild. He smugly suggests that Kim Miso has a crush on the new guy, which she immediately denies. She is simply fascinated by his incredible abilities, including his swordsmanship, the finest she has ever witnessed. Cho Jin-ho scoffs, claiming it does not matter how good he is, since there is no way Shin Sang-hyun outperforms him. Later, at the training grounds, Shin Sang-hyun calls her up to finalize details for their upcoming portal. She reveals that the gate opened up near Chunwi Station, and the path up to the midpoint checkpoint has already been fully scouted. She also sends over some detailed data for Shin Sang-hyun to look through. Scanning the files, he realizes this aligns perfectly. It matches his newly acquired skill, so he happily sends over his thanks. He promises to keep in touch, but Yoon Dikyoung laughs it off. The old Shin Sang-hyun is apparently a major celebrity now, which is crazy. The young man denies it, but his reaction tells a completely different story. Yoon Dikyoung can easily tell that the kid has no clue yet. When Shin Sang-hyun asks why, the veteran drops the actual truth. He just landed right on the front page of the Player Gazette. This catches him off guard. Honestly, who wouldn't panic in his shoes? He wonders how they even published that story without checking first. Yoon Dikyoung tells him to relax and enjoy the massive visibility. But getting noticed is exactly what Shin Sang-hyun wants to avoid. He changes the subject, pointing out they are here for another reason. Yoon Dikyoung nods and hands over a heavy bag of gear. Shin Sang-hyun says thanks, but the veteran stops him right there. He makes it very clear that none of this stuff is free. These are used items, and he wonders why anyone wants old gear. Shin Sang-hyun claims he wants to preserve the old warrior's legacy. But the veteran is not buying that terrible excuse for a second. The truth is that worn artifacts actually have a much better absorption rate. Since he cannot explain his system secrets, he just makes up a lie. Just then, a young woman arrives, apologizing for being so late. Parking was a total nightmare, but she is ready to start. Yoon Dikyoung explains that she is the appraiser hired for this deal. He brought her along to ensure both sides get a completely fair deal. The appraiser gets straight to work, using her skills to check the gear. Once she is done, she confirms that everything checks out perfectly. But before finalizing the trade, Yoon Dikyoung makes a sudden demand. He wants to see the kid's real swordsmanship in action first. Shin Sang-hyun plays it down, claiming he is not very good. But the veteran knows the kid is hiding some massive strength. He really wanted to avoid a scene. Who can blame him? Still, rejecting an old veteran's passionate request feels pretty disrespectful. So he asks the appraiser to step back and tells him to swing. Yoon Dikyoung does not hesitate, showing off his high-level skills. Right away, the protagonist notices a massive jump in his power. The old man has clearly been training like crazy ever since. But Shin Sang-hyun spots a weird movement and tells him to stop. He asks if there is something seriously wrong with his left arm. Surprised, Yoon Dikyoung freezes, wondering how the kid noticed that. He explains that every right-handed strike causes his left shoulder to twitch. He is protecting it. Yoon Dikyoung admits it is an old wound. Most of his past battle scars ended up on that exact side. That is why he instinctively tends to be much more careful with it. But our protagonist insists he can easily fix that. Old injuries can be overcome as long as a person refuses to hide from those deep personal weaknesses, choosing to face them head-on instead. He tells Yoon Dikyoung that he can work through this, starting with his grip. Sure, it will not be easy at first, but over time, he will get past it. Meanwhile, the appraiser is watching them from a distance, feeling totally bewildered. Confused, she wonders what on earth these two are actually trying to do. Soon after, the protagonist smiles, confident he scored a great deal on those items, even though he just shelled out over 400 million won. Still, he cannot forget the appraiser looking pretty uneasy as their transaction wrapped up. Either way, he must devour these artifacts before the portal mission begins. But while distracted in heavy traffic, he nearly runs someone over. Panicked, he asks if anyone is hurt, when suddenly a furious man marches up, complaining about waiting for Shin Sang-hyun and demanding he get out of the car. Shin Sang-hyun is lost, but the hostile vibe is definitely alarming. The aggressive stranger barks that if Shin Sang-hyun does not step outside immediately, he's going to burn alive right alongside his own vehicle. Wait, the protagonist squinted, suddenly realizing he actually knows these two guys. They are Choi Young-cheol and Cho Seong-ho from the notorious Utopia Guild. Choi Young-cheol is famous for hunting down weaker adventurers and beating them up, while Cho Seong-ho plays the spineless lackey who films every single attack. Shin Sang-hyun remembers they used to make incredibly extreme videos back in the day. At least until they crossed the line and got arrested. In other words, they are pure, unadulterated human garbage. Outside, they are just trying to provoke him, planning to beat him up and upload the footage for internet points. Honestly, our protagonist just wanted to head home and devour his new artifacts. But now he is forced to deal with this completely annoying roadblock instead. Stepping out of his vehicle, Shin Sang-hyun calmly asks what they want. Choi Young-cheol smirks, telling him to relax since they have business to settle. He says tons of people are complaining about Shin Sang-hyun driving around in such a terrible car, so he came to get rid of that garbage vehicle. Choi Young-cheol kicks the car hard, denting it before telling him to pack his things and leave immediately. Otherwise, things will get worse. Meanwhile, onlookers are quickly noticing. It is pretty obvious Choi Young-cheol and his buddy are looking for a fight. And it does not take long for onlookers to recognize the rookie, since his face has been plastered all over the headlines recently. Meanwhile, Choi Young-cheol tells his partner to quickly search Shin Sang-hyun online. Cho Seong-ho says he recently cleared a level 100 solo mission with support from Kim Miso. However, Choi Young-cheol is not impressed, saying the kid looks like a weakling and questioning if that report is actually accurate. Cho Seong-ho agrees it must be some kind of mistake because if Kim Miso was really there, she did everything while the rookie just took the credit, meaning they can easily crush him right here. The rookie's sudden rise will definitely bring buzz to their next video, while Cho Seong-ho starts up the live stream as Choi Young-ki approaches the protagonist, challenging Shin Sang-hyun to a duel where the loser has to leave the adventurer city for good. He adds that if Shin Sang-hyun wins, they'll leave him alone forever, leaving him with nothing to lose. Our protagonist immediately accepts, but on one condition: he will only fight if Choi Young-ki bets 500 million plus that fancy watch on his wrist, or he can get out of his face. Choi Young-ki gets absolutely furious at the nerve of this guy. Then Cho Seong-ho points out that the live stream chat is going completely wild over Shin Sang-hyun's ridiculous proposal. At that, our protagonist asks if Choi Young-ki suddenly got cold feet. Cornered in his own trap, Choi Young-ki has absolutely nowhere to run. Honestly, watching arrogant jerks corner themselves is hilarious. Now they prepare to duel as a crowd gathers to watch closely. While Shin Sang-hyun prepares, Choi Young-ki tries to boast that 500 million is pocket change to him. He even claims there is no way he will lose, warning Shin Sang-hyun to back out while he still can. Then the duel begins and Choi Young-ki vows to show no mercy, but he is instantly caught off guard when our protagonist charges him with everything he has, declaring that he will not hold back either. Even if his opponent begs, there will be no mercy. And since everything is being streamed live online, Kim Miso watches from home, shocked by the trouble Shin Sang-yoon has gotten himself into. Feeling anxious and worried, she immediately recognizes Choi Young-ki from the Utopia Guild, a rank B adventurer who does whatever he wants just because his uncle is the guild master. Just then, another girl walks over to ask what is happening. Her name is Shin Taeyong from the Eden Guild, and she wonders why Kim Miso looks so stressed. Spotting the protagonist on screen, she asks if that is the recruit Kim Miso tried to bring in. Kim Miso confirms it, but cannot understand why Shin Sang-yoon agreed to duel some random idiot. Meanwhile, Shin Taeyong comments that his movements look pretty sharp. Back in the arena, Choi Young-ki begins to panic after barely dodging a deadly blow. Shaken, he calls our hero a lying cheater, yelling that he will put him in his place, but Shin Sang-yoon uses his sword to effortlessly block, and when Choi Young-ki realizes it did absolutely nothing, he panics all over again. In fact, everyone watching is completely stunned by Shin Sang-yoon's insane power, wondering where a monster like this even came from. As for our protagonist, he notes that for the very first time since his regression, his body is finally moving exactly how he wants. 3 hours earlier, he was wrapping up his equipment deal and thanking the appraiser for her time, who replied she was just doing her job. Thrilled with the profit, Yoon Di-kyung mentioned he made some great money and invited them out for drinks. However, Shin Sang-yoon immediately turned him down, explaining he had an urgent commitment, which left Yoon Di-kyung pretty annoyed. He still tried to convince the appraiser to join, but she said she had other plans as well. For our protagonist, that crucial appointment was devouring his newly acquired artifacts to absorb their power as soon as possible. Stepping back from the busy group, Shin Sang-jun takes a second to inspect his stats. He notices the compatibility rate is at 90%, which the goddess immediately claims. Shin Sang-jun only expected 10% max, so he is thrilled with this. Seizing the opportunity, he mentions that she is quite popular among other constellations. He then asks if she has ever heard of the late exemplary student. Hearing his question, the goddess immediately thinks he is trying to replace her. But Shin Sang-jun quickly clarifies that is not his intention at all. He explains that this particular constellation is deeply important to him. He just wants to know if they are doing well in the heavens. Feeling quite generous today, the goddess of luck agrees to gather some information. With that sorted, he finally decides to focus on his delicious meal. Using his special skill, he transfigures his collected artifacts into a feast. He practically drools with excitement as they turn into his favorite dishes. Even though they are used items, Shin Sang-jun realizes they are highly effective. He cannot help but wonder how strong he will become after devouring everything. Back in the present, he concludes that although he has grown stronger, the effects of his new stat boosts are actually pretty underwhelming to him. Seeing red, his opponent decides to go all out. Watching the battle from afar, Kim Miso grows deeply worried about our hero. Unlike her, Shin Tae is confident that Shin Sang-jun will easily dodge. Charging straight forward, Shin Sang-jun reminds his foe about a certain debt. He warns him not to forget the 500 million won and his watch. From the sidelines, Cho Si-young thinks our rookie walked right into a trap. Frozen mid-charge, Choi Young-chil instantly declares his victory. With the rookie's feet completely encased in solid ice, he cannot move. Shin Tae is surprised, never expecting him to get caught so easily. But Kim Miso knows there is absolutely no way this stops him. The Shin Sang-jun she knows can break free without any real trouble. That is exactly why she tried to recruit him to her guild. Sure enough, Shin Sang-jun shatters the trap, catching Choi Young-chil off guard. He cannot believe a mere rookie can remove negative status effects. But he is about to find out just how terrifying this rookie is. Shin Sang-jun drops down from above, completely blindsiding his opponent. He coldly reminds him that the rules of this training duel saved him. Game over, otherwise he would not be breathing right now. With that, the duel ends, leaving every single one of Choi Young-chil's followers to watch his defeat live on stream. Viewing the broadcast, Cho Si-young notices a strange aura around our hero. Shin Tae studies him closely, picking up on a very unique detail. She realizes he has a special awakening ability, though its nature is unknown. But looking at his dark eyes, she suspects it might be psychedelic. This power typically causes extreme fatigue whenever the user gets hit, which means Shin Sang-jun must be confident he won't take any damage. Confused, Kim Miso notes that he never used this ability before. Her friend simply smiles, explaining that there are two main reasons. Only two options make sense. Either Shin Sung-hyan had no reason to use it back then, or he has a way of learning new abilities in a very short time. Meanwhile, far away at the appraiser's place, she realizes she missed something in her evaluation. 1. Of the artifacts Shin Sung-hyan bought possessed a hidden ability, meaning he should have tested it before taking the item into actual combat. She identifies it as a psychedelic ability, though she also notices that the activation rate is extremely low, meaning he needed serious luck to pull it off. Little does. But she has no idea our guy is drowning in luck, making a contract with the constellation responsible for that exact attribute. Back to Shin Sung-hyan, who asks his defeated opponent if he's going to hold up his end of the deal. Furious, Choi Young-chul thinks he only lost because he let his guard down, believing he was up against a simple show-off rookie. He refuses to accept this defeat and decides he needs to fight seriously. Now he plans to fall back first and come up with a new attack strategy, because he never would have agreed to this duel if he knew from the start who he was dealing with. Choi Young-chul blames his friend for giving him false information about the opponent, already plotting how he will punish him later. Once this is over, Shin Sung-hyan attacks anyway, telling his opponent not to afford himself the luxury of getting distracted. Shin Sung-hyan says that if he still isn't satisfied, he'll give him a bigger taste of his power, and he can do it as many times as needed, since training mode prevents either of them from taking a fatal blow. Desperate, Choi Young-chul begs him to stop and says he accepts the defeat, promising to pay up. Shin Sung-hyan replies that the official fight ended long ago, now he's just getting revenge. His opponent doesn't understand why, but Shin Sung-hyan says it's all his fault. A flashback takes us back 3 days earlier, when Shin Sung-hyan went to the dealership where his car was being serviced. The mechanic in charge told him the vehicle was fixed, but warned that he'd need a new car soon, since his current ride wasn't going to hold up much longer. Shin Sung-hyan wasn't expecting to hear that. The mechanic explained that the car was old and kept breaking down, meaning no matter how attached he was to it, he should think about getting a new one. Hearing that, our hero actually got emotional because he was deeply attached to his car. Back in the present, he tells his opponent that he shouldn't have messed with his car. Choi Young-chul begs for forgiveness, crying that he didn't mean any harm. Even so, nothing stops him from taking a serious beating, and the entire crowd around them, along with everyone watching online, gets to see a pathetic man crying during a brutal thrashing. Seeing his friend in that state, Choi Sang-chul starts to panic. At this point, he doesn't care about the audience or any of that anymore. He just wants to escape as fast as possible, but to his surprise, someone stops him. His guild manager shows up and says that he and his friend caused a serious problem. Moon Bi-kyan, on the other hand, finds the whole situation pretty interesting, not expecting a newcomer to take down Choi Young-chul so easily. With that, the manager turns to he approaches Shin Sang-hyan, offering to settle everything peacefully with compensation. He offers to pay for the damage, but our hero just asks who exactly he is talking to. Moon Bi-kyan is stunned by this extreme arrogance. The manager sees Shin Sang-hyan is highly confident, but he also notices something off. He senses that the guy's skills do not match his high level, suspecting a hidden secret. Regardless, Moon Bi-kyan formally introduces himself, presenting his official title. He is the manager of the Utopia Guild, and he wants to propose a deal. He promises the guild will cover all costs, aiming to build a solid relationship. To keep things friendly, he vows to handle the situation perfectly. Then our protagonist coolly demands 2 billion won to settle the bill. The manager is utterly shocked by the price, yet he understands the reasoning. He asks if Shin Sang-hyan would consider accepting installment payments instead. Eventually, our hero heads home, but he can barely reach his front door. A swarm of pushy journalists is blocking the entrance. After dodging their questions, time to block out the noise and focus on his actual priorities. Shin Sang-hyan realizes he must get ready for the massive raid coming up. He has been incredibly busy, forcing him to leave the preparations for the absolute last second. Still, given his recent training, he expects to be fine as he checks his stats. His numbers have risen significantly, making him eager to test this power in battle. However, a nagging worry remains. He recalls his intense fight against the giant wolf, realizing he still lacked the mechanical skill to dominate the encounter smoothly. His offensive options were far too limited compared to his past life. If his recent enemies had been even slightly stronger, he might have failed. He could have lost. With that danger lingering, Shin Sang-hyun knows he must grind. He needs to get much stronger to avoid suffering that same tragic fate again. He cannot repeat his past. Plus, the dreaded second invasion is always on his mind. That catastrophe will strike in 2040, and he must prevent it at all costs. To succeed, he needs to become a powerhouse, just like the legendary knight who saved him as a child. Suddenly, his phone rings. It is a call from reporter Park Young-min. The journalist asks if Shin Sang-hyun is still coming for their scheduled interview. And honestly, who can blame him? He completely forgot the appointment. The raid starts at 7, while this interview is set for 2 in the afternoon. With barely 15 minutes to spare, he will have to sprint to make it. He rushes out the door, but the persistent reporters try to block him again. Annoyed, the protagonist unleashes a menacing dark aura, warning them to back off. He coldly tells them to clear a path. Soon after, reporter Park Young-min spots him. The journalist instantly notices that something about our hero seems completely different. He realizes that Shin Sang-hyun looks physically changed, prompting a sudden question. He asks if our hero just came from a dungeon. Shin Sang-hyun denies it, politely apologizing for his lateness. Without wasting time, the reporter begins the interview. He asks about the crazy incidents our hero has been involved in lately. After all, he is currently the main focus of the entire adventure community. Park Young-min notes that traditional levels do not matter under the new ranking system. Following such a legendary debut, the entire world is praising his talent. He asks Shin Sang-hyun if he knows that multiple top guilds are watching him. Interested in recruiting him, the main character admits he has already received several offers lately, expecting questions specifically about the Eden Guild. Instead, the journalist asks if any foreign guilds have reached out. Park Young-min reveals that 5 international guilds have already submitted official requests to the Korean Adventurers Association to verify the rising star's identity. These foreign factions are famous for hunting down fresh talent, but Shin Sang-hyun's crazy performance clearly caught their attention. Our main character is just now realizing how much attention he is drawing. Walking home after the interview, he tries to process the shocking news. In his past life, he suffered through thankless grinds with zero recognition. Now, massive international guilds from around the world are actively chasing him. Suddenly, he bumps into Kim Miso. She notes they still have time before the portal opens, but he spots someone else with her. He instantly recognizes the famous girl standing right beside his friend. Miso explains that her companion was dying to meet him, so she dragged her along. Miso formally introduces them to each other. Shintari is absolutely thrilled to meet Shin Sang-hyun in person. Honestly, there is no way on earth he would not recognize her. Every single adventurer in the country knows the name Shintari. She is a global celebrity and the backbone of the mighty Eden Guild. Shin Sang-hyun feels lucky just to meet her, but then she drops a bombshell. Tairi requests a favor. She wants a quick training duel with him. Miso snaps at her friend for challenging a complete stranger out of nowhere. Tairi defends her actions, needing to test if he is worthy. She wants to see if Shin Sang-hyun can handle the Eden Guild. Miso apologizes, explaining that her friend is obsessed with challenging strong players. To their absolute shock, our protagonist readily accepts the sudden challenge. He calmly tells them they can easily settle this right now if she is ready. Besides, he admits it is a rare honor to test his skills against one of the strongest adventurers in the entire country. Tairi smiles, noting that Miso has incredible taste in people, and gets ready. Deep down, Shin Sang-hyun knows he is likely outclassed by someone so famous. But there is absolutely no way he is letting this chance slip away. He knows this sparring match will be incredibly brutal, but he is completely ready. There is no backing down now, and his only choice is to go all out. Kim Miso stands there completely stunned, wondering how things went so wrong. Tairi warns him she is coming first and lunges forward fast. Her insane speed leaves Shin Sang-hyun completely disoriented as she blurs past. Blink for even a single second against an opponent like her, and it is over. Tairi enjoys the thrill of the duel as she presses the attack. While Shin Sang-hyun desperately dodges, she keeps praising his surprisingly quick reflexes. But she warns him she is not stopping until she lands a clean hit. Our protagonist quickly realizes she is vastly superior in both power and speed. To survive, he must replicate the dangerous tactic he used before, shutting down his eyes completely and relying purely on his other heightened senses. To win, seeing this, Kim Miso calls him insane for closing his eyes. Right in the middle of a battle, she cannot fathom his plan, but Shin Sung-hyun knows exactly what he is doing. The moment Tairi strikes, he blocks her. Tairi notices his razor-sharp focus and admits most swordsmen could never pull off a move like that. After all, it takes extreme combat experience. Honestly, she says, it feels like she is fighting a true veteran. Shin Sung-hyun then turns to Tairi and tells her to stop holding back, asking her to unleash her full power next. Tairi stands there, completely baffled. Sung-hyun quickly explains he is not being cocky, he just wants to witness the true power of a top-tier player. Opportunities like this do not come twice. So he begs her not to hold back. Kim Miso instantly yells for her friend to stop. Tairi replies that she cannot give 100% of her power, but she can show her absolute maximum speed. Shin Sung-hyun nods, saying that is more than enough. As Tairi prepares, he warns himself that a single slip-up means defeat. Suddenly, she charges straight at him and Shin Sung-hyun braces for the collision. When she lunges at full speed, the sheer pressure of her strike shatters every single window around them. The swordsman swings hard to block the onslaught. Talk about intense, but Tairi suddenly activates her illusion skill, slipping right behind him. Just like that, she lands a clean blow on Shin Sung-hyun. Reigning in her power, she asks if he is all right. He replies that he is fine, though he admits he is shocked she unleashed her special ability on him. He groans about a splitting headache, making Tairi apologize immediately. Still, Shin Sung-hyun quickly waves it off and sincerely thanks her for not holding back. Tairi suggests that next time, instead of clashing, they should just sit down and chat, and offers Shin Sung-hyun gladly accepts. Right then, Kim Miso cuts in to warn them that the raid is about to begin. She insists her friend needs to write a detailed report on today's chaotic events because Tairi clearly does not comprehend just how dangerous her actions actually were. Tairi apologizes and right before departing asks Shin Sung-hyun to call her afterward. He can only watch her go, reflecting on the fact that, like it or not, this is his first defeat since his return. Even though this duel was completely out of nowhere, he now has a massive wall he is determined to climb, and he will not stop until he eventually surpasses Tairi. Later, the group arrives at Chunwi Station, right in front of the active portal. Kim Miso introduces her team. The two members express their absolute pleasure at finally meeting Shin Sung-hyun, who humbly replies that it is an honor to stand beside such veteran players. A young man introduces himself as Park Tae-suk, a fire maid who specializes in the ignition ability. Shin Sung-hyun notes that ignition means pyromancy, the exact skill used by Choi Young-chul, whom he previously defeated. But Park Tae-suk quickly clarifies that unlike average mages, he spent his life perfecting his flames, claiming his fire is hotter than anyone else's. Even so, he is only at stage C of the blue flame, meaning he still has room to grow. Shin Sung-hyun can see his raw strength, realizing this focused specialist approach was the right move. After all, he knows the precise reason Choi lost was failing to master a single element, scattering his potential instead. He tested out some weaker skills first. Then Kim Miso steps up. She explains that the girl next to her is shy, introducing her as Kang Juhi. Juhi is a rare spatial grip mage, specialized in bending space itself. Juhi whispers that since everyone else showed off, she should probably do the same. Miso immediately stops her, warning her that showing off here is way too dangerous. Right then, Shin Sang-hyun senses an intense pressure, unlike any normal mage. He realizes her magical energy is far beyond a standard spatial grip level. Her actual talent allows her to tear open instant teleportation portals. Shyly, Juhi confirms her ability and hopes she can be useful in the raid. Shin Sang-hyun knows she will be a lifesaver, not just useful. He smiles, realizing she is the absolute final piece of a perfect team. Shin Sang-hyun handles close combat, while Kim Miso strikes from a distance. Park Tae-suk covers their blind spots, and Juhi handles the escape portals. Honestly, if they just had a healer, this party would be unstoppable. Better yet, he notices that their tactical chemistry is incredibly smooth. He can tell these three have fought together many times before. To him, that deep trust is the ultimate key to surviving a dungeon. It is a lesson from his past life, but Miso suddenly snaps him out of it. She asks what is on his mind, hoping he is not still hurt from the duel. Shin Sangyun laughs it off, saying he just got distracted for a second. He assures her he is ready to move. Stepping inside, they face a frozen wasteland. Shin Sangyun shivers, taking a quick moment to thank his teammate. Without Park Tisuk's heat buff, they would have frozen solid by now. Miso frowns, noting that the weather was not this bad last time. Then she glances down and notices a second weapon at his side. She asks why he is suddenly carrying a short sword, along with his primary blade. Shin Sangyun claims he wanted a smaller blade for faster movements. But secretly, he knows he only got this short sword very recently. Before they can talk more, their first target appears right ahead. Miso immediately commands the team, snapping everyone into combat positions. Juhi tears open a portal, just as a giant cyclops lunges at Miso. The massive club smashes empty ground. Miso and Shin Sangyun have already leaped through. Now watch this, they land right on the monster, and Shin Sangyun barks orders. He tells his teammate to watch his back while he charges the beast. The Cyclops is completely blindsided. From above, Miso coordinates a strike. Tisuk reacts instantly to support her. Miso fires a blinding arrow. The monster is completely blinded, giving Shin Sangyun the opening he needs. He lands a massive blow and tells Juhi to prepare the next move. She opens a portal from afar, but the raging beast swings at him. Once again, the club hits nothing. Shin Sangyun vanishes entirely. He reappears high in the air, right behind the creature's massive head. The team braces themselves, but Shin Sangyun moves way too fast. He finishes the giant with a single strike, leaving his team utterly speechless. None of them expected a high-ranking monster to go down in one hit. Before they can process it, Miso speaks up, blaming herself for the delay. She warns the others about what Shin Sunghayan is capable of, admitting she felt the exact same shock during his first battle. He hasn't even unleashed his full power yet. Shin Sunghayan, however, feels that, despite this being their very first battle together as a party, their teamwork is surprisingly seamless, and honestly, they look incredibly good together. The group prompting him to ask if they are ready to press onward. Soon, the party stands victorious over several fallen Cyclops. Park Tisu is absolutely thrilled by the young swordsman, calling him the best frontline partner he has ever had. Shin Sunghayan quietly offers his thanks, just glad to keep the team safe. Kim Miso teases that Tisu rarely gets to fight seriously anyway, which explains his massive excitement. Shin Sunghayan understands his perspective for most glass cannon mages. Lacking a trustworthy vanguard means staying constant miles away from the danger. He begins to feel slightly overwhelmed. All this praise, it is too much, and it is not just the mage. Kim Miso chimes in with her own praise. She should be used to his combat style by now, but he somehow always finds a way to shock her. A flashback reveals that earlier Miso and Tisu were struggling against ogres when a massive pack surrounded them, no way out. Just as they felt trapped, Shin Sunghayan calmly requested a portal right in front of the beast. Miso shouted a warning, calling the demonic ogre far more dangerous than the rest, yet she immediately realized there was absolutely no changing his mind. The only option left was to put her trust in Shin Sunghayan. Juhi cast the gateway right before the towering monster, and Shin Sunghayan charged straight through at blazing speed. He sliced the giant beast down in one swift motion, left them utterly speechless. Defeating such a terrifying boss with zero effort is simply unheard of. Back in the present, Miso admits she has never witnessed such raw, overwhelming power. Since the team is performing so incredibly, she feels ready to truly believe in them. Suddenly, Juhi signals for quiet. Quiet, they have finally reached their destination. Peering over a steep cliffside, the party spots a formidable guardian watching the path. A massive Cerberus is asleep. Juhi whispers that this might be their lucky break, suggesting they use a warp portal to slip right past the beast. Shin Sunghayan strongly disagrees, refusing to let someone else claim such a valuable monster target. Miso urges him to weigh the risks before jumping headfirst into danger, but she can already tell Shin Sunghayan is absolutely itching for a battle. Anxious, she asks for his plan. He suggests it might actually be safer for him to strike alone, noting there is simply no time to explain the details for his Night Age skill to activate, the moon must be completely unobstructed, if even one. Cloud drifts across, his entire strategy collapses instantly. Keep that in mind, he must act immediately, regardless of whether the others agree with his solo rush. The split second he gets close, the Cerberus springs awake. The sleep was just a ruse. That does not startle Shin Sung-hyan, since he fully expected the trick. Watching from afar, Miso begins to panic, though Juhi senses something incredibly odd. The legendary guardian beast is not attacking him. Thinking back, Miso recalls that during her very first encounter here, the monster was viciously aggressive. Yet, facing this young warrior, the beast hesitates, turning remarkably cautious. She cannot comprehend this sudden change. Then it hits her, the monster is. Instead of attacking, it cowers. The Cerberus obeys Shin Sung-hyan. It senses a power way beyond its own, choosing total and absolute submission. For him, this was surprisingly easy. Still, he puts the obedient creature down. Even if putting down such a loyal beast feels a little cold, but suddenly, his regrets completely vanish the moment a broken new healing skill drops. Right then, the rest of the team catches up, making him instantly panic. He has never revealed his true, monstrous strength to any of them. So dealing with a potential exposure right now was definitely not in his plans. Worse, he worries Kim Miso might demand to keep the beast's artifact. But completely against his expectations, Kim Miso tells him to keep the reward. Since he killed the monster entirely on his own, he thanks her, but quietly begs her not to mention it to the others. She agrees, saying the squad already shares her opinion anyway. Shin Sung-hyan sighs. In relief, that was incredibly close. He must be far more careful. When collecting future drops, suddenly, the team leader moves the group forward. Giving him some space, she has already noticed his secret. Whenever he gets an artifact, he does something strange to consume it. And she wants to protect him from suspicious eyes. He is stunned. Kim Miso admits she figured out his secret a long time ago. Specifically back during their very first dungeon mission together, she wondered why he stayed behind alone, and that's when she saw it. Shin Sung-hyan feels completely trapped, having absolutely no excuse ready. But Kim Miso simply smiles, assuming he is some rare ritual-type hunter. She claims unique adventurers like him appear from time to time, so he has nothing to worry about because his secret is entirely safe in her hands. Then she tells the rest of the team to move ahead. He realizes there is a massive misunderstanding, but thankfully, his real devourer ability remains hidden. For now, he needs to consume this artifact fast. He swallows the item, and shortly after, they continue their journey. At his request, Juhi opens up a magical teleportation portal. Miso thanks her, and Shin Sung-hyan agrees her skill was crucial. But Juhi is still skeptical. She asks if this crazy plan will really work, confused why piling up dead beasts would attract the boss. He explains that the boss of this zone lives purely for food. It absolutely cannot ignore a mountain of free meat sitting in one spot. Juhi still looks doubtful, asking how he knows that, avoiding the question. Shin Sung-hyan simply tells the mage to set the pile on fire. Afterward, the party hides nearby. T-Suk grumbles that 20 minutes have already passed with absolutely zero activity, but right on cue. Shin Sung-hyan spots their target. The boss has finally arrived, and it is time to ambush it. Stepping into the clearing is the zone's boss, a massive, freezing brown bear hunting for its next warm meal. Watching this monster, Kim Miso knows Shin Sung-hyan carried them this far. But she genuinely fears this threat is way beyond his actual capability. To her, even the absolute strongest adventurers have unbreakable limits. A deadly crisis like this has ended more than a few hunter careers, quite a few. Just minutes earlier, the team gathered as Shin Sang-yun offered to act as bait. He claimed it was the absolute fastest and safest way to clear this raid. Most giant bosses share a specific trait that triggers during battle, he explained. Once their health drops past a certain limit, they enter a state of pure gluttony. The boss grows terrifyingly strong and violently begins devouring everything around it. Because of this, he piled up the ogre corpses, preparing a trap. But Shin Sang-yun had spiced up this monster feast with a little extra ingredient. While the mage prepped the meat, the others gathered juniper wood as a sedative. Park T-Suk agreed, knowing their only real issue was trigger timing. They had to damage the giant beast enough to force that gluttonous state. Shin Sang-yun promised to create the perfect opening and asked for their trust. Now back in the present, Shin Sangyun is seriously regretting his life choices. His clever plan is backfiring, and he is just one bad move from annihilation. The colossal beast looks entirely fresh, showing zero signs of fatigue. He confidently thought he could handle this solo, but he was dead wrong. Worst of all, he cannot comprehend why this creature's power is so overwhelming. Shin Sangyun realizes he is going to die if this onslaught continues. Abandoning all defense, he focuses entirely on dodging the incoming strikes. Yet even dodging proves nearly impossible against such relentless, crushing pressure. The beast's lightning-fast reflexes make Shin Sangyun regret ever jumping in. Luckily, his team backs him up as Kim Miso unleashes a volley of arrows. Her cover fire lands perfectly, creating a vital opening to save him. Knowing he owes her his life, he charges forward to turn the tide. Shin Sangyun slams directly into the massive bear, unleashing a powerful strike. The blow miraculously freezes the beast in place, giving them a brief window. He capitalizes on this temporary advantage, pressing the attack with everything. Even encased in ice, the monster struggles. Miso signals Tisuk to strike. Mage channels his devastating fire spells and tells Shin Sangyun to run. Shin Sangyun dives out of the blast zone, leaving the bear exposed. The massive fireball detonates, its explosive force shattering the beast's thick armor. Even Shin Sangyun is stunned by the raw destructive power of that blast. He hopes this massive hit finally pushed the boss to its limit. Right on cue, the bear's status screen flashes, entering its gluttony phase. The frenzied beast roars, catching Shin Sangyun completely off guard. He definitely did not expect this level of terrifying aggression. Watching from afar, Tisuk gasps at how mutated the creature has become. It looks entirely different now. He quickly asks how Kang Juhee is faring. Tisuk replies that Juhee is still chanting, desperately conjuring a massive portal. But their main concern isn't whether she can finish her spell. It is whether Shin Sangyun can survive long enough as bait. Meanwhile, Shin Sangyun realizes the situation has spiraled completely out of control. One wrong step means a total party wipe for his entire team. With their lives on the line, he has to bet everything on this fight. He quickly hardens his resolve, preparing to face the monstrous threat head-on. Facing the danger head-on instead of running, Juhee finally finishes setting up the teleport spell while Shin Sanghyan stands right in the line of fire. On the verge of being eaten, a portal slams into the beast at the last second. It blasts the monster back, but the massive power drain nearly knocks Juhee out. The team worries for her safety, while Shin Sanghyan reflects on his reckless gamble. If his high-stakes move had missed, that colossal bear would have shredded him to pieces. Thankfully, the strategy actually paid off and kept the entire squad safe from harm. Meanwhile, the poisoned bear finishes devouring the pile of ogre meat. It turns back to hunt them, but the toxic meal quickly takes effect. With a heavy thud, the giant beast collapses lifelessly onto the forest floor. Kim Miso praises him, knowing the whole genius strategy was his idea. With the raid successfully cleared, Shin Sanghyan secures some sweet bonus rewards. Their leader praises the squad, giving special thanks to Juhee. She admits the battle showed her exactly where her current limits lie. Shin Sanghyan expresses his gratitude for her playing, along with his crazy scheme. He hopes to team up with her again on future dungeon crawls. Privately, he knows he never would have survived this dungeon run entirely alone. Back in his past life, blind raids like this always ended badly. Elite teams normally had a 90% survival rate in high-ranked dungeons. Those groups were packed with veteran hunters, but he was different. His old squads belonged to the other 10%, losing people constantly. He watched his friends die on every raid, barely making it out himself. Over time, saying goodbye became normal, but he refuses to live like that again. Growing stronger is vital, but he is going to protect his allies this time. No more watching comrades get slaughtered, time to check the loot. Before exiting the dungeon, he prepares to claim his hard-earned victory spoils. The massive boss drop screen loads, ready to distribute the goods. Shin Sanghyan steps up, but his patron goddess of luck stops him. She tells him to watch closely, as she shows off her true divine ability. Placing his trust in his constellation, he anticipates a massive upgrade. Instantly, a rare list of unique rank artifacts appears before him. The system asks him to select his prize, leaving him stunned. This is insane value, and it gets even better thanks to his goddess. Her luck blessing unlocks an incredible hidden passive on the unique items. He completely forgot this secret perk was part of their contract. That goddess definitely expects some serious thanks for her divine efforts. He notices that the rest of his teammates are completely distracted. This gives him the perfect window to quietly choose his gear. He does not need to hesitate because he already has his eyes on one weapon. He locked in his choice, the legendary Great Spirit Sword of Battle. Knowing its true hidden stats, he grabs it, only for it to slam down. The sword is incredibly heavy, leaving him wondering what is going on. Kim Miso notices his struggle and asks if everything is okay. He plays it off coolly and shifts the focus back to her. He compliments her loot, and the team leader smiles warmly. They only cleared it thanks to Shin Sang-yeon, so because of that, they want to pay him back properly. She and the team decided to hand over the dungeon boss's magic stone. Shin Sang-yeon insists that's really not necessary, but Joo-hee argues that everyone agreed because they never would have made it without him. Shin Sang-yeon gratefully thanks his teammates for their incredible generosity. He realizes that adding all his rewards to this boss stone, the total value comes out to around 150 million gold, making him grin inside. Just thinking about that massive payday makes him laugh. Soon, they exit the portal. Kim Miso immediately invites Shin Sang-yeon to a celebration, but he politely declines. Thinking it is better to save it, Miso replies they will meet again anyway. So it is no problem, but she asks to call him whenever she wants, although he really wants to refuse. Shin Sang-yeon realizes he shouldn't, so he agrees to stay in touch. Grateful, Kim Miso says goodbye, leaving Shin Sang-yeon completely caught off guard. He never expected to see Miso showing such a bright, cheerful expression on her face. Her reaction is so warm it leaves the entire team feeling slightly flustered. After finally parting ways with the group, the young hunter realizes his new sword is too heavy to carry home normally, meaning he must absorb it right there on the spot. Once that is done, he checks his status screen to see his progress. His base attributes jumped up significantly, but he chooses to dump every single point into luck. Immediately, his critical hit rate spikes to 600%. Absolutely insane, right? Shin Sang-yeon knows he should keep riding this wave since it works so well, but then a sudden distraction completely breaks his focus. Brand new constellations manifest to speak with him, including the mighty Lion King, Blackbeard, and the mysterious Shadow Huntress. Surprised, Shin Sang-yeon never expected to get visitors like this so soon. But he assumes it is all thanks to his sponsor, the goddess of luck, who is apparently incredibly popular among these cosmic beings. Checking them over, Shin Sang-yeon recognizes the Lion King and Blackbeard as legendary historical figures who eventually ascended to become constellations. Yet, even with their heroic status, their overwhelming pressure makes him feel uneasy. Still, the entity that shocks him the most is the Shadow Huntress. She is easily the most dangerous figure here and the absolute last person he ever wanted to meet. She is a cosmic bounty hunter, targeting hunters who break system rules or gain unfair advantages through system glitches. In his previous life, Shin Sang-yeon heard terrifying rumors of her, completely ruining the careers of successful players, whom she branded as cheaters. Naturally, he fears that exact fate could happen to him now. Still, signing with a major constellation is not an opportunity he should lightly throw away, even if his current goddess of luck is technically more than enough. He honestly wonders if he should reject such an incredibly rare chance. Above these beings are the mythic ones, and landing a contract with a mythic tier constellation is nearly impossible, so he takes a massive gamble, refusing to sign a contract with any other constellation for the time being. The only one thrilled by this choice is the goddess of luck, as the others storm off in pure rage. Before leaving, the Shadow Huntress warns that she will uncover Shin Sang-yeon's deepest secrets. After, he feels pretty uneasy, but there is absolutely nothing he can do about it. Either way, he figures the best way to keep his mind busy is by working, so he notices a nearby portal crawling with wolves and refuses to miss this perfect opportunity. Despite just clearing another gate without getting any real rest, Shin Sang-yeon knows he cannot stop until the mythic constellations finally notice him. Meanwhile, deep inside the busy Adventurers Association headquarters, Portal Analysis Team is doing their usual work when a receptionist gets a highly unusual call. She is instantly alarmed by the news and warns everyone that a rift just burst open at exit 1 of Bupyeong Station. shouting that every available hunter must deploy to the location immediately. But the frantic caller on the other end of the line reports something strange. There is already an adventurer fighting at the scene, she claims he is. Fighting completely alone, the receptionist immediately orders everyone to evacuate. Because the area is highly dangerous, the woman understands but adds that the guy fighting in front of her does not seem to be struggling at all. This strange dimensional gap was born 11 years ago after the first cataclysmic break, turning into a chaotic disaster zone where beasts invade and wreck everything. But what seems completely unpredictable to ordinary citizens is quite simple for our main character. After all, he has already witnessed this entire tragedy unfold, meaning he knows precisely what to do. 10 minutes prior, Shin Sang-yoon was fully prepared. He stepped off the train and waited until the rift finally appeared. Right on schedule, years ago, this exact event turned into an absolute massacre that claimed countless innocent lives, but this time he is standing right here to rewrite history. You see, Shin Sang-yoon grew up in an orphanage from a very young age, leaving him with no memory of his parents' faces. Back then, he never really felt sad or lonely, but everything shattered when he lost his entire found family. He only made it because someone reached out and saved him. Now he wants to pay that debt forward, which means becoming the absolute strongest. Right on cue, the beasts emerge. Ferocious, giant wolves growl, ready to tear him apart, but our guy calmly unleashes a skill that instantly leaves the pack completely paralyzed with fear. Seeing this work, Shin Sang-yoon smiles, but he soon realizes the effect is not quite as strong as he hoped. It is likely because the moon is fully covered, so the wolves refuse to submit. Honestly, he thinks that only makes things way more entertaining. Instead of forcing them to yield, he will just have to put them down using his own hands. This is the perfect chance to test out his brand new skills. Shin Sang-yoon charges forward, but his blade does not even touch the beasts directly. Instead, the sword unleashes a swirling vortex of energy, and the wild wolves are sucked right into the storm. Nearby targets get dragged in as well, sending several of them flying backwards toward the closing gate. Shin Sang-yoon notes that this massive attack covers an incredibly wide area, which will be highly useful for future battles. A wave of satisfaction washes over him as he clears monsters without breaking a single sweat. Even better, his insane luck stat heavily boosts his critical hit damage. He quietly observes that these targets were not finished in a single. That strike was not lethal. This time, he is going to have to hit a lot harder. Just then, a car screeches to a halt nearby. The passengers spot the glowing rift. Association hunters step right out of the vehicle. Among them is Lee Hyun. Lee Hyun asks who called them in. A terrified woman admits she saw monsters emerging. Get somewhere safe. He promises he will handle this chaotic situation alone. But his partner, Lee Young, points toward the rift with wide eyes. Wait, they are definitely not the first ones here. They spot Shin Sang-yoon already trading blows with the beasts. The situation looks incredibly dangerous, and Lee Hyun doubts this kid can survive alone. He prepares to jump into the fray, but Shin Sang-yoon stops him cold. Back off, he does not want anyone messing up his fight. Lee Young asks if he is actually serious, and the young hunter just nods. He wants to test his limits completely alone. He triggers all his power buffs at once, charging forward to see what happens. The impact is absolute insanity, sending the massive monster flying backward. The association duo watch with dropped jaws while Shin Sang-yoon dusts himself off. Honestly, that throw was pretty spectacular, and everyone is completely frozen in shock. Once the monster goes down, the two hunters slowly approach him. They admit it is a miracle. No civilians were hurt in this chaotic mess. Usually, a rift opening like this leaves the whole block in ruins. Lee Hyun offers his thanks, then asks if he plans to enter the gate. Only high-tier players dive inside, and he eagerly begs to join Shin Sang-yoon. Lee Young is not thrilled about this idea, but his partner is dead set on it. Lee Hyun keeps pushing, trying his best to convince Shin Sang-yoon to guide them. The young hunter shrugs and says they can tag along if they really want to. He steps through the gate first, with the two hunters following closely behind. Once inside, Shin Sang-yoon moves so fast they can barely keep him in sight. Lee Hyun is amazed. He clearly has incredible reflexes. He wants to watch from a safe distance and maybe pick up a few tricks. But Lee Young is still deeply suspicious of this mysterious powerhouse. No way, nobody should have this much stamina left. Li Haiyan quietens down, realizing his partner actually makes a lot of sense. Even watching from the safe zone, they could feel how brutal that fight was. Regardless, they keep pushing forward until a sudden sound makes them stop dead. Out of nowhere, a vicious pack of hunter wolves completely surrounds them. Ambush Shin Sung-yoon expected this, grabbing a wolf. He instantly uses the beast as a living shield to protect his new companions. The enemy archers rain down arrows, but every single shot hits the wolf carcass. Realizing these two are dead weight, Shin Sung-yoon regrets bringing them along. But it is way too late to send them running back to the entrance now. No choice, he will just have to clear the room on his own. He stops defending and launches a volley of ranged attacks. This draws the monster aggro, letting him close the distance and slice the archers. Shin Sung-yoon quickly clears the upper floor, satisfied with his progress. But that loud victory immediately draws the attention of something much worse. The beast lunges straight at him. He gets attacked but manages to defend himself just in time. He quickly realizes it was a dangerously close call. On top of that, he notices something else. This particular enemy is a champion among the wolves, in other words, a mini-boss. This champion actually knows how to use a shield, fighting with real strategy. Knowing this, our hero has to be absolutely precise. One mistake could end him, so he works on minimizing damage while blocking. Just as he deflects the blow, Shin Sang-hyeon unleashes a massive, overpowering counterattack. His strike is so powerful that it smashes straight through the enemy shield. Even he is stunned by his own strength, not expecting such an easy breakthrough. Not only does he shatter the shield, but he also lands a clean finishing blow. The monster drops instantly. He figures this insane damage is from his active full moon buff. With this boost active, Shin Sang-hyeon realizes wiping out the rest of these wolves will be easy. While the adventurers struggle on the first floor, he easily clears the area. The protagonist wipes out every single enemy in seconds, then notices a rare item drop. He picks up a pair of swift shoes, which grant a solid boost to his speed. Cobalt wolves are known to drop speed gear, and the timing here is absolutely perfect. Next, he checks on his helpers and sees they are actually handling themselves quite well. Both did better than expected. Feeling confident, Shin Sang-hyeon pushes deeper into the dungeon. He figures reaching the final room will be a walk in the park. Soon after, he arrives at a massive chamber that can only be the boss room. The massive chamber doubles as both a deadly battle arena and a massive treasure room. Walking inside, Shin Sang-hyeon is completely stunned to see piles of gold covering the floor. Honestly, who could resist grabbing that loot, but it is just a dirty trick. The final boss was lurking in the shadows, waiting for its prey to get distracted. Suddenly, the monster fires its crossbow, aiming to catch our protagonist completely off guard. Thanks to his insanely fast reflexes, he dodges the deadly projectile just in time. Shin Sang-hyeon immediately launches a swift counterattack, swinging his blade with full force. But the enemy manages to dodge, which catches our hero completely off guard. He quickly realizes he is dealing with a highly intelligent monster. And he is absolutely right. This beast is the Cobalt Emperor, supreme leader of wolves. The Emperor fires another shot, and Shin Sang-hyeon barely manages to dodge the bolt. He realizes that if he lets his guard down for even a second, he's done. Plus, this boss is proving to be incredibly annoying with its high resistance. Just then, the two adventurers arrive at the entrance of the chamber. Hearing the clash of blades inside, they rush through the doors to help. They start apologizing for being late, but instantly freeze when they see the boss. The terrifying pressure radiating from the Cobalt Emperor fills them with absolute dread. They are so paralyzed by fear that they cannot even take a step. That means once again, Shin Sang-hyeon has to handle this entire fight alone. He leaps forward, warning the boss that ignoring him was a fatal mistake. His sword lands a heavy blow, but the boss is barely scratched. Its defensive stats are unreal. He is going to have to hit much harder. To make matters worse, he now has to play bodyguard for his teammates. The two frightened adventurers are completely useless at this point. The monster's sinister pressure is just too heavy for them to handle. Knocking out two S-rank adventurers puts this monster in a completely different league. But Shin Sang-yeon is different. Unlike most hunters, he does not scare easily. He keeps pressing forward with heavy attacks, but the beast is not just standing there. It quickly raises its defenses and fires back with a volley of deadly arrows. The hunter has no choice but to jump back, and the enemy does the same. Backing off to a safe distance, it knows range is its biggest advantage here. Shin Sang-yun immediately notices that this creature is much smarter than he originally thought. Getting close to it is going to be incredibly difficult from here on out. Even worse, he realizes the enemy is recovering much faster than he can manage. One tiny slip-up means death. He needs a plan fast. If he cannot end this fight soon, the monster will completely dominate the battle. Looking around, he spots the monster's treasure pile, sparking a genius idea. Meanwhile, the other two S-rank hunters recover and start whispering to each other. Lee Hyun admits he has never felt a status condition this terrifying before. The pure terror left him completely frozen, but his partner points out something strange. Somehow, Shin Sang-yun was not affected by that paralyzing fear debuff at all. Unlike them, he is still fighting at full power, which gives Lee Hyun hope. He trusts their allies' skill, but a horrible feeling still creeps up on him. That's when he notices something terrifying, as the boss's missed arrows sink into the floor. Desperate to warn him, Lee Hyun screams out about the hidden trap. Caught up in the battle, the young hunter steps right into the gold pile. Suddenly, he feels his feet getting sucked deep into the gold pile. He's trapped. The monster has him right where it wants him, firing again. Shin Sang-yun struggles to move, but he is completely trapped in place. With the arrow hitting its target, the boss rushes in for the kill. But Shin Sang-yun just smiles, saying he still has a few tricks left. He mocks the beast, saying a truly smart opponent would notice he stopped dodging. Watch closely, because his plan is about to catch this boss completely off guard. Channeling a massive surge of power into his blade, he unleashes a strike. The attack completely tears up the room, dealing massive damage to the enemy. Lee Young realizes that he actually used the scattered gold coins as projectiles. From Lee Hyun's perspective, this is a display of sheer combat genius. He is completely awestruck by how sharp the protagonist's battle senses truly are. Shin Sang-yun closes the distance, standing right in front of the beast. The hunter tells the monster it is the most stubborn enemy he has fought. But even so, he has absolutely no intention of backing down now. Enraged, the boss swings wildly, but its giant weapon completely shatters. Left totally wide open, the monster takes a devastating final strike. With the boss dead, he gains massive attribute points and levels up. On top of all that, the floor is covered in incredible rare item drops. Looking over the loot, he realizes these items are high-tier treasures. He cannot wait to devour them, but the other two hunters rush over. They yell that they must escape this dangerous dungeon right this very second. The dimensional rift is closing fast, and they will all be trapped. Shin Sang-yun was so distracted by the loot that he forgot about the timer. He has no choice. He quickly grabs only the boss drop and takes off. The other adventurers literally drag him away before he can loot more. Even though he wanted every last coin, outside a small crowd waits curiously. Everyone is waiting for the heroes to return when the portal finally opens. Crowds cheer to see them safe, but their happy shouts quickly fade away. Wait, why does everyone look so completely devastated? The crowd is totally baffled. A reporter pushes through the crowd to interview Shin Sang-hyun about the victory. The savior of the city is too completely drained to even give a proper answer. Meanwhile, in a private training facility, Association Mage Cho Lee Hyun is hard at work. She is blasting through practice golems, but she is not training alone today. Tyree is right beside her, preferring sharp steel over flashy spells. She moves like absolute lightning, tearing into the stone targets with ease. Her blade work is genuinely unmatched, showing zero mercy even in a practice run. The golems stand absolutely no chance. Tyree slices right through them like paper, leaving her mage companion completely stunned by the sheer display of skill. She pushes herself this hard because she never wants to forget that feeling. The intense thrill of her clash against Shin Sang-hyun still burns in her. She is dying for a rematch, and honestly, can we blame her? Right then, a breaking news alert pops up on her system interface. It is a report about a massive, unexpected rift appearing in the city. The anchor explains the danger is already over, thanks to one incredible adventurer. Directly on screen, the broadcast cuts to the scene of the action. Reporters ask Shin Sang-hyun how he managed to save everyone without a single casualty. He casually replies that he was just doing his job, watching this live. Tyree smiles, shocked to see Shin Sang-hyun on her screen so soon. Hosts point out the boss monster was level 150, asking him what it felt like to defeat such an insanely overpowered enemy. But Shin Sunghayan just shrugs, even with their massive level gap. He explains that numbers do not actually decide a real battle. Tyree cannot help but agree. His calm tone shows he knows his own power. He possesses a rare, quiet maturity that she noticed the very first time they met. This cool attitude makes her even more incredibly curious about him. She wonders if Shin Sunghayan has a secret contract with an otherworldly constellation. Just like she does, honestly, that would explain so much more. Meanwhile, back at his apartment, Shin Sunghayan inspects his loot. He immediately enters his inner unconscious space, completely thrilled. It is finally time to absorb all of this power. He remembers the early days of players, when brute force was everything. But as deadly new monsters emerged, those muscle-bound fighters fell fast. Relying strictly on raw physical power turned them into easy targets. Everything changed when Jeongsu, the legendary sword demon, burst onto the scene. He proved that raw muscle is not the only thing an adventurer needs. Jeongsu abandoned heavy steel armor and a bulked-up body shape, focusing instead on a perfect mix of extreme speed and lethal power. In his past life, Shin Sunghayan ignored that balance, but not this time. He wants to do things differently this time. Back in the present, Shin Sang-yun transforms the items. But only 2 of them actually turn into food that looks remotely edible. The last one is pretty disgusting, but he has no other choice. He has to force it down. Later, outside Shin Sang-yun's place, a huge crowd gathers. Security guards struggle to hold back a wave of eager reporters trying to force their way inside, tired of the endless hassle. Shin Sang-yun hired personal guards to block any uninvited guests. He desperately wants some fresh air after that gross meal, but it is impossible with the crowd. He can't even step outside. Honestly, he is feeling pretty. With nothing scheduled, he feels pretty bored, though resting never hurt anyone. That quiet moment ends when his phone rings. It is Kim Jae-hai calling. She is from the Adventurers Association and remembers their last meeting. Calling with official business, she explains the reason for her call. The group wants to present Shin Sang-yun with an award for closing the rift, but our main character absolutely hates this kind of spotlight. He knows the real danger is coming, and regular players are highly vulnerable. That closed rift was just the tip of the iceberg, a tiny fraction of the threat. For now, he has to keep a low profile. He flatly rejects their offer. Kim Jae-hai insists he should at least take the special dungeon priority card. This card grants entry to the silent solo dungeon, the exact location he wanted. Now that is a massive win. Shin Sang-yun is stunned it actually got approved. She explains his recent achievements made the higher-ups completely change their minds. They granted him the green light. Shin Sang-yun knows exactly what waits inside. Every single monster in this place uses a silence ability. A sudden memory flashes back to a painful conversation with an old teammate. The ally had mentioned his younger sister, who passed away inside a silent dungeon. She relied way too much on her magic, leaving her completely defenseless. Without her active spells, the monsters tore her apart. It was a tragedy. Having 0 close combat skills, her brother desperately wished to change the past. He would have stopped her from entering. Back in the present, the memory fades. Shin Sang-yun accepts the card. He plans to head there very soon. A bit later, he is cruising around in his sleek new ride. The rear-wheel drive handles beautifully. This is a massive upgrade from his old car. He did not want to blow cash on a luxury vehicle, but after appearing on television, riding the subway without getting swarmed became totally impossible. He needed his own space. While driving, a call comes in from Kim Yi-ha. She reminds him his scheduled slot for the silent dungeon is today, with staff waiting. They will assist him at the portal entrance. Shin Sang-yun reflects. On the timing, 1 whole week has already passed since that secret rift incident. He spent those days training nonstop. Now, he is dying to test his limits. Unleashing those new skills is his main goal, but suddenly, traffic grinds to a halt. A major jam at this hour makes no sense. He specifically chose a quiet time. He immediately gets worried. Did another dangerous rift just tear open nearby? The answer becomes clear a second later. This is definitely not a normal rift. Up ahead, a popular player is currently being interviewed in front of the active portal. Shin Sang-hyun instantly recognizes the famous sword demon, Du Jeongsu. A massive portal just spawned right in the middle of the intersection. This quickly attracts Du Jeongsu and a crowd of fans. A reporter asks how popularity feels, and he calls it an honor. Too boring, the interviewer wants something far more dramatic. She pushes further, asking for his thoughts on the upcoming raid. He simply says he will do what he always does. Slay monsters, yet she somehow finds this bluntness quite charming. Pure sincerity. Meanwhile, Shin Sang-hyun tries to slip away unnoticed. No luck, his sudden movement immediately draws the crowd's eyes. Reporters spot him instantly, whispering about a rare legendary meeting. An ally notes that Shin Sang-hyun cleared a massive solo rift. He became highly famous after clearing a rift entirely alone. But Jaeyoung-soo already knew that, shocking his companion completely. A reporter asks if Shin Sang-hyun came to challenge him. He denies it completely, calling it a mere coincidence. Yet looking over, he catches Jaeyoung-soo smiling directly at him. He wonders if that look is contempt. Man, the tension is unreal. Either way, he knows he still has a very long road ahead of him. He is not quite ready to challenge the legend just yet. Jaeyoung-soo calls it a day and turns to leave with his crew. Most hunters look at him with deep awe, but not this kid. Shin Sang-hyun saw a wall to climb, an obstacle to crush. Oh yes, they will definitely run into each other again. Leaving the media circus, Shin Sang-hyun heads to the silent dungeon. Jaeyoung-soo was flawless, showing zero openings even while standing still. But a massive wall only makes the eventual climb much more satisfying. Arriving at the scene, he finds players blocked at the entrance. It is a total blockade. Kim Ji-ha's team is barring entry. He walks up directly to see what the issue is here. An angry girl snaps, telling him fame gets him no favors. There is a code of honor they must all respect. Shin Sang-hyun just watches her talk about bad timing. His memories of this day are proving to be spot on. Today is the exact tragic day his teammate's sister dies inside the dungeon. He just had no clue she was such a hot-headed girl. The siblings are complete opposites. It is almost hard to believe. But there is absolutely zero room for hesitation now. Taking a firm stance, he tells her that her anger is no excuse. Feeling wrong does not justify yelling at innocent people this way. Besides, he is on an official schedule set by the association itself. He is doing nothing wrong and will not tolerate any delays. Without wasting another word, he heads straight into the dungeon. The furious girl screams that she will never forget this face. Shin Sang-hyun steps inside alone, instantly greeted by a horrific, rotten stench. But he knows it is no coincidence because every monster in this place is undead, one of them claw up from the ground and grab Shin Sang-hyun. He is instantly hit with a silence effect, locking down his skills for a short time. But he was already prepared for this, immediately drawing his sword to strike back. He slashes the beast down, but the noise immediately draws more creatures to him. With enemies surrounding him, Shin Sang-hyun realizes that even a single strike from these monsters will silence his skills, meaning he cannot get touched. He has to take them out completely before they can even get close. Meanwhile, the 4th Reconnaissance Team of the Adventurers Association gathers for a meeting. Their leader announces they must discuss the most talked-about person of the moment. That person is the rising new adventurer, Shin Sang-hyun, who has grabbed everyone's attention. A team member notes that Shin Sang-hyun's recent actions are incredible. He even stood up directly to Jaeyoung-soo, which is incredibly impressive for a rookie. Still, they wonder how someone who awakened so recently is already making such waves. An Ik-jun, the 4th team leader, acknowledges the massive hype surrounding this rookie. Yet he remains skeptical, doubting if Shin Sang-hyun is truly as good as they say. The vice leader, Shin Min-ye, completely agrees with these doubts. In his eyes, talented players pop up constantly and rarely live up to the hype. Without knowing his true power, they should hold off on making any big judgments. But the team strategist, Lee Ga-hee, immediately speaks up to disagree. She insists that Shin Sang-hyun is definitely the real deal. The others exchange nervous looks, realizing this is yet another clash between them. Lee Ga-hee constantly goes against the vice leader, making the room incredibly tense. The team leader steps in, asking Lee Ga-hee if she has actual proof. As their sharp strategist, she reveals she has been tracking Shin Sang-hyun closely. Over the last few days, she has compiled a complete breakdown of his growth. She urges everyone to study the numbers, promising it will completely change their minds. Her conclusion is clear: Shin Sang-hyun is not some ordinary hunter. She displays a standard player growth chart, contrasting it with the protagonist's data. The difference is staggering, showing a level of progress that defies all logic. The room falls silent in disbelief, though the vice leader remains stubborn. He accuses Li Gahi of losing her objectivity when assessing this player. Shin Minyi refuses to believe the data, claiming such growth is completely impossible. He scoffs that this would make him as fast as the legendary sword demon. But Li Gahi stands her ground, having verified every single detail herself. She even went so far as to interview Shin Xianghayan's former party members. We see her interviewing Yun Dekyung about the protagonist's unusual traits. Yun Dekyung recalled that Shin Xianghayan's skills were absolutely mind-blowing. He had never seen anyone utilize stun effects with such precise, deadly control. Yet he added that the raw crowd control is not even his best asset. What makes him truly terrifying is his incredibly sharp and natural combat instinct. Park Tae-suk and Kang Joo-hee also backed this up during their interviews. They confirmed that Shin Xianghayan's combat performance was unmatched. He is not just stronger than your average player, he is completely different. He is always one step ahead, reading the battlefield like a seasoned pro. A seasoned veteran with years of experience. Hearing that, Li Gahi asks for more details. Park Tae-suk explains that fighting alongside Shin Xianghayan made him realize something massive. Just how incredible the main character's instincts are, as if he can sense exactly what the opponent is going to do before it even happens. He notes that for most adventurers there are moments of hesitation, but Shin Xianghayan fights like his body moves before his brain can even process the threat. It is as if he possesses a sixth sense built purely for combat, something a normal adventurer would need years of intense training to develop. No matter what situation Shin Xianghayan finds himself in, he always finds a way to win, making even the most powerful enemies look completely helpless against him. After hearing all this, Li Gahi sums up the main character's core ability as an instinct that basically borders on seeing the future. Back in the guild meeting, she explains that even as a newcomer, Shin Xianghayan's abilities are already being compared to rank players or even beyond. Li Gahi believes there is a real possibility that Shin Xianghayan is rank S, and honestly, the vice leader does not buy that claim. On top of that, he argues, no one can predict the future, let alone know exactly where a rift will open before it actually appears. Li Gahi counters with the most widely accepted theory, which is that Shin Xianghayan somehow traveled back in time. The team leader understands that Shin Xianghayan is highly skilled, but thinks that theory is just too far-fetched. Either way, he decides that from now on, Li Gahi will be in charge of keeping a personal eye on Shin Xianghayan, but entirely alone. She agrees and promises to do her absolute best. Meanwhile, back with our main character, he is feeling sick from the absolutely wretched smell of this place. To make things worse, he is tired of getting caught off guard by spawning monsters. But stopping to think, he remembers his handy detection skill and realizes things would have been a whole lot easier if he had just used it first. With detection fully active, he can now see exactly where the hidden threats are lurking. Then he spots a strange fly and wonders if it is a monster. He touches it and gets an explosive answer. Seriously, he was almost blown sky high. Luckily, he managed to react just in time to avoid death, but still suffered some nasty burns. The worst part, flies like this mean there is a mage-type monster lurking nearby. Obviously, the right play is to get out of there as fast as possible, but suddenly, fresh explosions burst right beside him, proving his theory about those mages was spot on. Meanwhile, back in the meeting room, the vice leader says he understands her high expectations for Shin Xianghayan, but asks if she managed to uncover anything beyond his sheer combat instincts, like some sort of hidden ability. Because if their initial analysis is right, this Shin Xianghayan must have a highly unique way of acquiring new skills. Li Gahi admits she has no solid confirmation yet, but she does have a hypothesis, if she is right. Shin Xianghayan is a player far beyond comprehension, someone who defies logic. Indeed, he may be impossible to explain with words alone. Just 3 days before entering the silent dungeon, Shin Xianghayan had been training relentlessly. On top of his physical workouts, he constantly simulated his previous battle against that formidable boss. After 3 whole days of that, he reached a clear conclusion. Outside of rare circumstances like consuming powerful artifacts, the only way to gain new abilities is building skills is pretty straightforward, just train constantly, but that only Works for passive abilities, active ones only trigger in combat or drop from monsters. Most players hide this information because the exact conditions to get them are highly specific. Luckily, Shin Sangyun has years of real experience. The cocky mages who tried to blow him up definitely didn't count on that. They never expected anyone to escape their trap, so they doubled down, unleashing a barrage of attacks to finally crush the intruder. Meanwhile, Shin Sangyun thinks it took him far too long to unlock his defensive sword skill. Its only weakness is standing completely still while using it. But to him, every rule has an exception, and he's ready to take the gamble. He fuses his offense and defense into one move, charging straight into the fray. The desperate mages try to coordinate a massive magical counterstrike. But Shin Sangyun is already upon them. With one sweep, he cuts through them. Every single one, but the real show is next because the dungeon boss is still waiting. First, Shin Sangyun grabs the loot dropped by the mages. He inspects the drop, realizing it is a rare purple stone, a powerful magic artifact worth nearly 100 million won. Still, he decides to pocket it for later, completely focused on clearing this place. Activating his detection skill, he scans the area ahead for more dangers. His radar picks up only a single enemy. Where did the others go? Suddenly, the massive boss teleports right behind him. Shin Sangyun barely has time to react. Abandoning his defense entirely, he leaps high into the air. The beast's strike slams down, obliterating the entire stone floor. Looking at the devastation, he finally realizes why the hallways were empty. Every other monster fled in terror. This boss kills everything in sight, showing zero mercy even to its own allies. This is the Death Knight. Shin Sangyun has no idea why such a terrifying opponent is lurking outside the center of the dungeon, but one thing is absolutely certain. This monster slaughtered his friend's sister, and he wants payback right now. This is it. Revenge is finally within arm's reach, but this knight is no joke. Every heavy blow it swings carries lethal force. A grim reminder of who Shin Sangyun is dealing with, a literal slain warrior reanimated, its soul forever bound to an immortal armor shell. Its passive skill, the Swamp of Silence, shuts down all magic instantly. No wonder the Hunter Association restricts access to this dangerous zone. The risks are simply far too high for unprepared raid parties. Shin Sangyun knows this place is much worse than they advertise. The hidden threat level easily eclipses the official safety reports. The true nightmare comes from the soul controlling that rusted armor. If it belonged to an elite master swordsman, the difficulty skyrockets. In his past life, the association realized this truth far too late. Countless rookie hunters were sent to their graves trying to clear it. Eventually, only A-rank and S-rank experts were even allowed inside. Back then, even Shin Sangyun wouldn't have dared to enter. Now, facing it directly, he understands why they were terrified. Regret hits hard. Rushing headfirst into a challenge this massive was a major blunder. Now his life is on the line, but this is far from the first time Shin Sangyun has stared down death, and he is absolutely sick of it. Still, he realizes old habits die hard. The second real danger strikes, those doubts creep back in, making him question his own strength. If he keeps letting his mind spin like this, he will never truly change. No, backing down is not an option. He must face this threat head-on, even if it is his absolute end of his second life. Sensing Shin Sangyun is weakened, the enemy lunges in for a brutal finishing blow. He barely dodges it, but he still knows he desperately needs to regain some stamina to survive. Right in that moment, he spots more monsters lurking in the area, and on top of that, he spots an exit. Without hesitation, he bolts straight for the gate. But on his way, a horde of zombies surrounds him. Shin Sangyun already anticipated this, but there is no time to think. He has to fight. He leaps straight into the zombie horde, even as the boss rapidly closes in on him. He uses the smaller mobs to his advantage, shredding through them to replenish his energy. It is still not enough, so he keeps pushing forward. Bursting through the exit, he stumbles into a massive new arena. The place is crawling with monsters, which is actually perfect. He can trigger his skill and refuel his stamina by farming these mobs, but the boss catches Shin Sangyun off guard, catching up to him way faster than anticipated. The boss strikes, and Shin Sangyun dodges, but then he realizes the attack was never aimed at him. The knight was targeting the surrounding monsters instead. He realized Shin Sangyun was using the zombies to heal, so he wiped them out to crush his strategy. Just like that, the boss has him completely cornered. This leaves Shin Sang-yun in a brutal, desperate spot. His entire plan is shattered, with no choices left. He retreats, choosing to fight with whatever strength he has left, despite his depleted attack power. He charges forward, knowing he cannot run forever, but as he gets blindsided, the boss anticipated his movement and struck first. The blow lands with devastating force, tearing right through Shin Sang-yun. The shred of stamina he had left completely vanishes from that single strike. Even so, he refuses to break. In this critical moment, his mind flashes back to his past, to the devastating moment he held his dying friend, the fallen knight made one last request to be buried beside his little sister. Shin Sang-yun desperately tried to save him, but his comrade already knew his time was up. There was absolutely nothing he could do, leaving him carrying that crushing guilt for the rest of his days. Now back in the present, he faces a terrifyingly superior opponent. Regret washes over him as he realizes he vastly underestimated this monster. He foolishly believed he was ready for a fight of this scale and rushed in without any real preparation, but giving up now is out of the question because this is a desperate fight for survival. For him, this isn't just about simple revenge for past losses, it is about proving something to himself. Shin Sang-yun remembers failing to protect the people he loved before, to make sure that history never repeats itself. He cannot back down now. At first, he genuinely believed his skills were completely outmatched, but a sudden realization hits him. But that's wrong. The real danger is something else altogether. As the monster lunges, Shin Sang-yun keeps dodging, never staying in one place, forcing the creature to speed up. He knows that if the enemy cannot land a single strike, all that raw power is completely useless. So he hits back, aiming straight for a critical point. It connects perfectly. The charged strike stacks 600% damage, hitting the knight square on, but he is still standing. Shin Sang-yun knew it wouldn't be this simple, so he doesn't panic. This was never going to be an easy fight. Realizing he's losing, the knight tries to ignite his remaining flames to blow himself up. Shin Sang-yun pauses in confusion. He expected a warrior's death, not a self-destruct. But looking at the massive energy swelling inside the boss, the grim reality sinks in. This monster is going to detonate himself. He wants to take absolutely everything down with him, including Shin Sang-yun. Knowing the fatal plan, he realizes getting close means instant death. Think about it, this is the desperate trap of a cornered beast. But he's not about to let himself get caught, with just seconds left. He runs as fast as his legs can carry him, but the boss starts chasing. The monster is determined to drag Shin Sang-yun into the grave with him. So now, while sprinting for his life, he has to dodge incoming attacks. He barely manages, but the persistent knight keeps pushing, trying to pull him directly into the blast radius. Then, the boss prepares a special skill. He can control his giant sword from a distance, aiming it right at Shin Sang-yun. He barely dodges the deadly strike, knocking the weapon away. But the boss still won't stop, relentlessly pursuing him as Shin Sang-yun tries to run faster. His lungs and chest are screaming. He's pushing his limits, but he knows he must survive at all costs. This isn't just about escaping a monster. He is literally racing against time. And right on cue, disaster strikes. He trips, crashing down wide open. The enemy closes in. His mind races, desperate to find a way out. He knows exactly what kind of brutal end awaits him if he fails. Flashback to the past. He had entered this exact same dungeon once before, clearing out a horde of rotting zombies to help a close friend seek revenge. His friend's sister had been hurt. Back then, Shin Sang-yun fought hard in the front lines, while his companions safely stayed in the back. Annoyed, Shin Sang-yun complained that the battle was completely unfair because the monsters kept silencing his skills, leaving him with only basic attacks. His buddy suggested drinking a recovery potion, but Shin Sang-yun saw no point. Potions lose all their effects when you are silenced, anyway. Still, his friend urged him to play smarter. If he drank it beforehand, the active buff would still work. That turned the item into a secret weapon. Shin Sang-yun had scoffed, saying if he were that smart, he'd be a legendary high-level adventurer by now, and not just some struggling nobody. Now, back in the present, he realizes his friend was actually right. There is still a lot to learn. He chugs a recovery potion, clearing the silence effect instantly and leaps straight back into the action, even if The effect is only temporary, but that brief opening is all he needs. His opponent is furious, but Shin Sang-hyun cannot afford to make a single mistake. He spent every drop of his mana just to set up this play. Clinging to a chandelier, he waits for the strike before dropping at the last second. Shin Sang-hyun slips away, sending his opponent crashing face-first directly into the ceiling. One more hit would kill him. It is officially now or never. The beast breaks loose from the ceiling, instantly charging back towards Shin Sang-hyun. He regrets not waiting just 1 second longer before letting go of that chandelier. But the real mistake was underestimating this opponent right from the start. If he had taken it seriously, he would not be struggling this desperately now. He even begins to doubt whether this whole regression was actually worth the pain. Just as the monster closes in, its massive body suddenly begins to crumble. Shin Sang-hyun realizes he got incredibly lucky that the boss could not finish him. It seems his second life gets to continue for at least a little longer. As the threat turns to dust, Shin Sang-hyun secures a special victory bonus. Beyond that, he pulls in more experience points than any previous dungeon run. His health bar completely refills, but his stamina remains dangerously low. This must be the price of forcing his abilities past their absolute limits. Taking down a boss of this caliber was definitely not an easy feat. Reflecting on the brutal encounter, he realizes he needs to change his approach. From this point forward, mastering his psychedelic ability must be his top priority. But the immediate consequences of overexerting his power hit him like a truck. Sudden, excruciating pain begins ripping directly through his internal organs. Using that psychic skill carries a high risk of triggering severe penalties. And get this, that exact drawback is hitting him full force right now. Without that risk, he knows the monster would have ended him right there. Now that life-saving technique is tearing him apart, outside the dungeon entrance, Jae-ha is deeply worried, while the other adventurers show zero concern. They assume he is just taking his sweet time clearing the area. Even if something went wrong, the team leader really could not care less. She believes that whatever happens inside is purely the result of individual choices. All she is focused on is getting her own turn to enter. As Shin Sang-hyun lies unconscious, the surviving zombies spot a completely helpless target. They close in to devour him, but the goddess of luck suddenly intervenes. Her presence alone terrifies the monsters. They run. Next, she tries waking him up, but quickly realizes he is completely unresponsive. Searching for a way to help, she decides to simply lie down right beside him. After some time passes, Shin Sang-hyun slowly opens his eyes and wakes. Shocked, he realizes he has been out cold for a very long time. But his biggest issue is the lingering, intense physical pain locking up his body. Standing is nearly impossible. He pushed past his limits but had no alternative. Facing a monster of that caliber left him with absolutely no other choices. Strangely, the nearby monsters never tried to strike while he was vulnerable. It makes no sense until he spots the goddess sleeping peacefully next to him. She was clearly his protector, and a wave of relief washes over him. A constellation is watching over him, even without knowing the details. He decides the best move is to get out of there as soon as possible. Right after, he spots a magical artifact on the ground. It is the Ring of Silence. Dropped after the dungeon boss was defeated, and its special ability is to restore the user's mana at a faster rate. Furious, Shin Sang-hyun thinks that after all that grueling effort, this reward is barely even worth mentioning. Still, he remembers he earned a lot of experience from taking down the boss, and decides to check his stats to see how much he leveled up. That is when he realizes he hit level 83. He concludes that the real reward from this dungeon is not the drops but the experience. In the last dungeon he cleared, he walked out at level 58, which means that by completing the silent dungeon, he jumped 25 levels in one run. Despite the underwhelming artifact, Shin Sang-hyun thinks the mission was worth it for the experience alone. At this rate, he believes he will soon become one of the strongest adventurers in his country. All the commotion ends up waking the goddess of luck from her nap. Shin Sang-hyun has not recovered enough to leave the dungeon yet, so he sets up a fire in a makeshift camp. As he does, he remembers that in his past life this was just his routine, but in this life, it is the first time he has ever relaxed. Inside a dungeon, he also notices that the goddess seems a lot more at ease than he is. She tells Shin Sang-hyun to enjoy the little things in life, too. Just like she does, the protagonist thinks that he used to believe in that philosophy, but things are different now. There is no time to waste since the fate of this world might rest in his hands. He then takes the chance to devour the Ring of Silence and celebrates the fact that the item transforms into something that actually looks incredibly delicious. On top of that, he thinks about how in his past life, he only ever saw food like this on YouTube. Now he actually gets to eat it. Doing so feels to Shin Sang-yun like a dream coming true. The goddess, for her part, says she is curious about how the protagonist manages to do that, claiming that this ability to devour items is extremely rare. Shin Sang-yun explains that every adventurer goes through an initial awakening, and when his turn came, that is the ability he got. The goddess says he is really lucky to have awakened with something like that, not knowing just how deep Shin Sang-yun's luck actually runs. Even as a constellation, she has no idea about his past, and he wants to keep his regression a secret. The goddess says she is also lucky to have found an adventurer with such incredible growth potential. Hearing that, Shin Sang-yun thinks that while it is true, there is someone out there with far greater potential than his. In the past, that adventurer was the greatest in the world and no one came close. His name was Jaron Decay from the United Kingdom, and his defining trait was a magical power that surpassed the strength of any monster. Compared to him, the protagonist feels pretty weak, but believes that one day he might reach that same level, or maybe not. Either way, he says he will trust his constellation to help him get there, and will give everything he has to show her how much she means to him. The goddess is moved hearing that and likes it so much that she pulls the protagonist into. She wraps him in a grateful hug, promising to do everything to be the best constellation. But joy does not last. This sweet moment is cut incredibly short. Shin Sang-hyun only defeated the mid-boss. The real nightmare remains. Their last opponent was just a knight. This one is different. Meet the terrifying king of this silent dungeon. He watches them approach. Finally, someone has come to end his absolute boredom. Let us see how long this guest can keep things entertaining. Shin Sang-hyun notices something. The enemy did not rush to attack them. He just waited at his door, which plays right into our hero's hands. That gave Shin Sang-hyun precious time to recover, and now he is ready to rumble. Plus, he is not fighting alone anymore, boosting his confidence to the absolute maximum. It is time to clear this zone. The epic showdown officially begins. The boss goes all out, scoffing that rats always try to run but end up crushed. This battle right here will be absolutely no different for them. Instantly, a deadly magical blast narrowly misses our hero. No openings left. These attacks are completely cutting off every path. It is impossible to advance. Worse, he cannot keep dodging like this forever. He must find an opening, but wasting mana on missed strikes is not an option. Analyzing the heavy battlefield, he deciphers the monster's clever strategy. The boss wants to dry out his mana before he can even strike. Honestly, it is a brilliant strategy, and it is hard not to sweat for our hero here. The monster remains extremely confident. Victory is already assured. No mere pest could ever hope to defeat a king on his own home turf. He keeps attacking relentlessly, unleashing an endless ocean of raw power. But our hero stays laser-focused, knowing he cannot afford to slip up now. One blink means death. Shin Sang-hyun has already analyzed the situation. He knows his opponent is a high-level mage with immense mana to burn. This monster can charge several massive spells at once, but wait. Normal sorcerers usually have to use both hands to cast their spells. Casting with only one hand drastically reduces the raw destructive power. But he is cheating. He uses the hands of the dead to amplify spells. The corpses on the floor are amplifying his magical reach, making this a nightmare. Still, Shin Sang-hyun knows he must seize the very first opening he sees. As he lunges forward, the boss laughs and calls it a fatal, foolish mistake. Boom, a silencing spell hits him, the exact type of magic he hates most. But Shin Sang-hyun is not worried. He does not need his skills right now. He is going all in on raw physical combat. The boss just laughs. Dodging easily, he sneers that simple physical moves will never touch him. The king decides to finish this and begins charging a massive fire spell. But his smirk vanishes when a sharp sword suddenly appears right in his face. A direct hit. He cannot comprehend how this could possibly happen. Shin Sang-hyun just grins, calling luck his absolute greatest ally. The mighty boss collapses, completely unable to process his sudden defeat. Shin Sanghyun looks down, telling the king he is not very observant. It turns out our hero had a hidden skill active the entire time. Breaking the tense silence, the boss claims he already knew since he had been watching our hero during his last battle. On top of that, he had also carefully studied Shin Sunghyun's fighting patterns and mana capacity, concluding that he had everything he needed to win. There was simply no room for any mistakes because his calculations were absolute perfection. But Shin Sunghyun replies that sometimes even a cornered rat can end up biting its predator. Meanwhile, outside, the girl waiting anxiously outside the dungeon gate finally spots someone walking out. She recognizes Shin Sunghyun immediately and sighs in relief that he made it out. But no joke, there is a massive crowd waiting out here. Way bigger than before. Before he can even ask, reporters immediately swarm him with endless questions about the raid. Nearby, a medical team rushes over to check him over, even shouting to ask his blood type for an emergency transfusion. Our hero has absolutely no clue why everyone is making such a massive fuss. Standing near her brother, the girl mutters that Shin Sunghyun actually made it out of the dungeon completely unharmed, which means she probably wasted her time calling for help. Shin Sunghyun stands frozen in the chaos, with people swarming him. His eyes lock onto his dearest friend, who in this current life has absolutely no clue who he is. He remembers how, after 10 long years as a solo hunter, he needed a team. But because his specs were pretty average, finding a group was incredibly difficult, leaving him feeling isolated and abandoned by the world. Then, everything changed. Out of nowhere, a guild approached him and offered an invite to join a massive raid. The party leader was genuinely thrilled to find a capable swordsman who could fill the slot. Shin Sunghyun was also happy, but for a totally different reason, yet he stubbornly turned down the invitation. By that point, he was so accustomed to working alone that pride made him reject them instead of teaming up with complete strangers, but that foolish pride almost cost him everything when he went in alone and nearly died, until a brave knight from earlier suddenly appeared in the same raid. He offered a helping hand, admitting he knew how brutal the dungeon was for a solo player. So despite the rejection, he had followed our hero just to back him up. At that point, Shin Sunghyun finally swallowed his stubborn pride and thanked him. That small moment changed everything. It was the catalyst that pushed him to finally join a guild, and things went incredibly well for a long time. But then his best friend confessed he simply could not take it anymore. He wanted to leave the guild, completely exhausted from constantly putting his life on the line in these dangerous dungeons. He wanted out before he ended up dead, just like so many of their former comrades. Back when his sister left, he wanted to build a sanctuary to protect fellow adventurers, but after witnessing so much tragic loss, he just could not go on. Shin Sunghyun wanted to support his choice, but the guild had grown too big to lose its leader at such a crucial moment, so he begged him to stay. Now, back in the present, Shin Sunghyun wants to set things right. He approaches the young man and tells him to never start a guild, saying exactly what he should have said back then. No chance taken. Naturally, the young man stands there completely confused. He cannot understand. Why would a famous adventurer approach him right now? In this massive crowd, his memory feels fuzzy. Do they know each other? Suddenly, the sister snaps. Furious, she immediately steps in to protect her brother. She confronts him aggressively. Just for speaking to her brother, she makes a scene, forcing Shin Sunghyun to walk away. Meanwhile, in a distant residential dimension for monsters, a sinister group walks and talks. They discuss something deeply classified, when one of them notes that these humans are absolutely perfect for his master plan. Back on Earth, news broadcasts flash. The adventurer Shin Sunghyun cleared the notorious silent dungeon entirely alone. He overcame every deadly hazard. The reporter adds a warning. Shin Sunghyun told the association things are bad, insisting the dungeon boss is far more powerful than any ordinary monster. Watching this closely, the protagonist realizes the association is already on it. No other hunter will step inside anytime soon. It is locked down. He got out alive, barely. He reflects on how close he came to dying, realizing his ultimate spoils were worth far more than just standard experience points. Before escaping, he checked his status. He uncovered secrets about his constellation and gathered new details on the late bloomer model student. Plus, he secured legendary gear and an expanded, high-capacity inventory backpack. The boss dropped elite loot. This makes Shin Sang-yun incredibly happy. More storage means more profit. He can pack heavily for future runs. Seriously, how does Shin Sang-yun keep running into these completely unheard-of items? The goddess of luck laughs. She claims this is all her doing. She has been blessing him with divine grace since their exclusive deal. He agrees. Still, he believes his own hard work deserved some credit. Wasting zero time, he transfigures his new dungeon loot into delicious food. This food is insanely refined. The dishes look incredibly fancy and completely foreign. So Shin Sang-yun cannot even name them. No matter, eating comes first. The first bite is magic. He tastes something absolutely phenomenal, an absolute masterpiece. It tastes like a feast prepared by gods. He devours everything instantly. After stuffing his face, he absorbs the item power, pure bliss. Still, he regrets not eating slower. That flavor was truly legendary. Now get ready for the good part. He examines his brand new skills. The system forces a choice. He can only keep one of two abilities. Option 1 is telekinesis. He can control his sword remotely like the Demon Knight. Option 2 is silence. It is extremely powerful but highly risky. Shin Sang-yun hesitates. He knows every great power has a catch. He is correct. The system warns that silence drains a massive amount of mana. That is a brutal drawback. It makes him want to decline. His active skills already burn his mana. A debuff would crush him. But he is a risk-taker. In this life, no gamble is too big. He selects silence. He is confident he can handle the high cost later. Suddenly, the air pressure shifts. A bizarre event unfolds before his eyes. Alerts flare. Brand new constellations descend to inspect him. He meets two absolute legends, the great Mongol conqueror and the monarch. Of the sun, the goddess of luck loudly insists that Shin Sang-yun is doing absolutely fine. With her needing no other constellations, but she is caught. Completely off guard when a third constellation suddenly makes an appearance. Even the other deities are totally shocked to see this newcomer arriving right on the scene. Among the constellations, annoyed, the goddess of luck demands to know what she is doing approaching her protege. The new deity calmly replies that she has been closely watching Shin Sang-yun for quite some time and stands deeply impressed by his incredible bravery. She even admits she wants to stand right beside a man like him, not just that. She tells him to ditch his outdated constellations and enjoy the pure luxury she offers. Absolutely furious now, the goddess of luck immediately tries to intimidate the newcomer, demanding to know who is outdated. Our hero sighs. A massive mess is starting because of him, so he decides to dismiss them all like before. But the young deity stops him, claiming she holds highly valuable and secret information for Shin Sang-yun. Of course, he must agree to make a deal with her, too. Give him a little teaser of the secret. She reveals the intel concerns his old companion. The late bloomer model student, Shin Sang-yun, instantly rushes toward her, demanding to know what she actually knows about him. She answers that he is currently wandering the dimension of bodies, because his relentless obsession with knowledge led him there to study strange creatures. But if Shin Sang-yun wants the rest of the story, he must abandon his current patron and sign a brand new contract with her. Now, snapping back to reality, our hero reflects on this revelation, realizing that in his previous life he had absolutely no idea his constellation had traveled to other dimensions. Still, he could not dig any deeper without agreeing to that highly suspicious contract. Instead, he stayed loyal to the goddess of luck and asked her to thoroughly investigate the matter. His patron was absolutely thrilled that Shin Sang-yun chose her over the rookie. But she unfortunately came up completely empty-handed in her own search. This leaves him frustrated, knowing the dimension of bodies is a dark wasteland, where fading, desperate deities go when they lose absolutely everything. So he worries his old companion is currently in serious trouble with no easy way out. There is nothing he can do. Far away, inside the Hyeonjong Corporation building, an employee hands the company president a list of available. One specific name immediately catches her eye on the list of available open market fighters. It is Shin Sang-yun. The powerful president, Han Hyeonjong, reviews his personal profile and finds him incredibly interesting. Some time later, our hero quietly continues with his daily life, but he cannot completely shake the memory of his former companion. And honestly, wouldn't you be wondering the exact same thing in his position? Perhaps he could have saved him. Either way, he must definitely stay with his current goddess, knowing she is the only one who actually has his back now. She was the one who pulled him from death in the silent dungeon. He drives through the city, finally arriving at the famous Hyeonjong Market. This is a massive hub where elite adventurers gather daily. To buy and sell magical artifacts, high security is guaranteed here. For a heavy fee, a crucial detail that often completely blindsides unsuspecting and reckless newcomers. Danger either way, markets like this are the safest way to trade items. Guilds worldwide run open markets, but in Korea, the absolute biggest belongs to the Hyeonjong Corporation, besides just hosting the market itself. They are tied to a powerhouse guild, which is easily enough to guarantee complete safety, but there is a far bigger hook. Its director is a legendary veteran, none other than Han Hyeonjong. She's the only person alive who can cast S-rank buffs. Hunters from across the globe gather at this market because of her. And with so many top-tier powerhouses walking around, safety is practically guaranteed, without anyone ever saying a word. However, because of her massive fame, the sheer number of people hunting for those buffs causes absolute chaos every day. Landing at the market, our main character is greeted by a polite employee. She promises to clear his entry right after verifying his hunter credentials. After scanning his card, she notices Shin Sanghyan is listed on their priority sheet and immediately offers to guide him straight to the exclusive special floor. With that, he realizes he has caught the owner's eye without even trying. Talk about high-profile treatment, but while waiting in line, he overhears some background extras whispering. They are gossiping that Kim Miso and Shin Sanghyan are actually dating. They are wondering how she can feel comfortable moving on so fast after her previous boyfriend died in that tragedy. Our hero is pretty annoyed by the disrespect, wanting to stay low profile. He casually mutters that this market is far louder than he expected, gesturing toward the group of gossipers. The receptionist instantly catches his drift, and security quickly drags those loudmouths out of the building. Shin Sanghyan is pretty satisfied and can finally focus on his real business. He rides the elevator straight up to the restricted special floor. On the way, he reflects on how his past self could never have imagined stepping foot in such an elite zone, let alone scoring a personal invitation. Arriving at the VIP floor, the high-class crowd makes it crystal clear. This place is the real deal. A completely different receptionist approaches him, proving that he is truly getting the absolute royal treatment here. Introducing herself as Song Ah Hyan, she promises to assist him with anything. Walking around, our hero spots a spellbook, but the massive price tag instantly makes his eyes pop. Song Ah Hyan explains this rare item is the Book of the Abyss, containing highly coveted and forbidden secrets. Shin Sanghyan declines, explaining that as a swordsman, magic holds no interest. So he asks to see high-grade gear for his own class. Suddenly, he notices a massive crowd gathering around one specific display case. Song Ah Hyan offers to explain, but our main character waves her off, preferring to inspect it himself. Stepping closer to the exhibit, he is totally blown away by the incredible heat radiating off the pedestal. It is a blazing magic stone called Almighty. He instantly recognizes this is one of the 9 legendary artifacts scattered across the globe, famous for containing infinite power, but his jaw drops even further when he spots the price tag, a staggering 3 trillion won. Talk about expensive. Belonging to Jeron Decay, which means if such an elite artifact is actually up for sale, he must have even better items. Shin Sangyun arrived at the market, feeling completely hyped, but standing here makes him feel like a tiny minnow in a massive shark tank. He keeps wandering the exclusive zone, completely stunned by the prices. Even the absolute cheapest artifacts cost way more than he has. Right in the middle of his browsing, a stranger recognizes him. The man introduces himself as Jang Junhyuk, asking if he needs anything. Immediately, the name rings a bell for him. He remembers that in the future this guy gets super famous after gaining Perfect Storm. Jang Junhyuk explains he is not just here to buy, but also to sell some of his gear, specifically an amazing artifact that does not suit his current class. He presents the Ring of Life, which gives a passive boost to his mana, and wonders if Shin Sangyun wants to buy it right now. Seeing this, he wonders if this guy is trying to pull a quick direct exemption trick on him. Unlike normal markets, this place has a special rule for direct deals. Normally, the house takes a 5% cut on every sale. But direct player-to-player transactions skip that fee completely. He thinks the ring would be pretty useful for his builds. But knowing it will cost a fortune, he politely turns the offer down. Just then, a massive argument breaks out nearby as security guards start shouting. They are scolding a woman for eating on the floor and breaking the rules. She defends herself, yelling that she paid for these pizzas herself. So she has every right to eat them wherever she wants, the guards. However, snap back that it is not about the food at all, but rather her terrible attitude. She keeps arguing back, insisting there is absolutely nothing wrong with being hungry. Shin Sang-yeon walks over, apologizing for interrupting her meal, but says he wants to check out the artifacts she is selling. She tells him she is not stopping her snack, so he can go ahead and inspect them. So he picks up the items. He instantly notices they are magic rings. One gives a nice speed boost, while the other increases potential. He realizes this would solve all his stamina and mana issues. Plus, it looks like nobody else around is interested in them. So he asks her how much she is charging for the pair. She wants 1,500,000,000 each, but says if he takes both, she will give him a sweet deal for 2 billion. When he hesitates, she immediately offers to lower the price even further for him. After a brief negotiation, they settle on 1,300,000,000. He remembers how poor he used to be, unable to buy anything like this. But now he sees it as a smart investment that will return double. The girl says that with this cash, she will buy some good food and donate everything else to her orphanage. Shin Sang-yeon asks if she runs the place, and she nods, pulling out a photo of the kids. When he looks at the photo, he feels an instant shock of familiarity. That orphanage in the picture is the exact same one It was the shelter he called home after losing his family, but he never expected to run into a familiar face after everything that had already happened. Looking slightly confused, the girl points out that Shin Sang-yeon looks unusually pale, asking what is wrong. He says he just remembered something from his past, but quickly changes the subject to ask about the orphanage. She explains it was destroyed in a massive collapse, something the young man already knew but wanted to confirm. Shin Sang-yeon thinks his goals as a player are totally different from hers, since this girl wants to raise funds purely to help others, not for personal wealth. She explains her own parents founded the home, which is why she wants it rebuilt to keep their family legacy alive. She even invites Shin Sang-yeon to learn more about the rebuilding project, handing him a simple business card. He immediately notices the card is hand-drawn and figures they must really be tight on cash. In a way, thinking about his past moves him, but he tries to hide those emotions. Still, she notices Shin Sang-yeon softening and finds it endearing. Meanwhile, he heads over to the Grand Eden Guild headquarters. For a visit, an adventurer named Jo Jin-ho greets him, saying he has been expecting his arrival. Shin Sang-yeon is surprised to be greeted by Jo Jin-ho and knows he has to take this visit seriously. Just 1 hour earlier, he was still back at the market. He had promised to contact the orphanage girl later on, but right as they were parting ways, his phone rang. A bit annoyed, he stepped aside to answer. On the other end, Kim Miso called to warn him that a dangerous new portal was opening. She said the minimum was 2 players with a level requirement of 130 for the terrifying Black Gate. That name instantly triggers a memory. He knows this place. It was cleared by the legendary sword arbiter, Kang Boe, and afterward became famously called the Black Gate. He knows he and Kim Miso have been working brilliantly together, meaning there is zero reason to turn down her offer. Plus, he vaguely recalls the dungeon reward was a massive, epic artifact, even if the exact details escape him right now. Regardless, he immediately agrees, knowing it will be worth the risk. Back in the present, he arrives at the massive guild headquarters to meet Kim Miso. Putting all thoughts of his market encounter completely behind him, Jo Jin-ho asks if something is troubling him, but Shin Sang-yeon shrugs it off. They keep moving, and Jo Jin-ho mentions Kim Miso is currently in a meeting with the guild master but will meet him directly afterward. He says if he wants, they can wait in the grand training room, pointing out it is a rare opportunity that normal players never get to experience. Shin Sang-yeon, for his part, instantly feels the heavy atmosphere shift. Jo Jin-ho says he experiences that pressure every time too, telling Shin Sang-yeon to make himself at home. As soon as they step inside, they see someone is already using the space and Shin Sang-yun suggests they should not interrupt. Down in the arena, Shin T-Rai is unleashing relentless attacks on a golem training dummy, refusing to hold anything back. Because she always fights seriously, but today she has got an unexpected audience, Joe. Jin-ho calls out, demanding to know why Shin T-Rai is occupying his. She looks pretty confused there, and even more so when she spots Shin Sang-yun. Noticing they haven't crossed paths in a while, she asks what brings him to the building. Shin Sang-yun explains that Kim Miso invited him over for yet another dungeon raid. Shin T-Rai sarcastically teases him about getting pretty close to her best friend lately. But noticing his obvious nervousness, she steps in. She decides to leave them to it, but adds that she wants to spar with Shin Sang-yun soon. She promises to reach out later to train. Once she leaves, Jo Jin-ho smiles, saying they are finally alone. Time for some practice, he immediately asks a bold question. He wants to know if Shin Sang-yun is up for a quick duel right now. Is everyone in this guild going to challenge him? Jo Jin-ho tells him not to sweat it, explaining that it is nothing serious. He simply wants to see the newcomer's skills in action with his own eyes. He just loves testing other adventurers. Shin Sang-yun quickly realizes this giant of a man just wants to bond through battle. Jo Jin-ho generously tells him to pick any weapon he likes from the guild's massive armory. But Shin Sang-yun declines, calmly stating that he already has his perfect weapon ready. He pulls a sleek longsword straight out of his subspace, ready to begin the fight. Stunned, Jo Jin-ho admits he has never seen anyone utilize that kind of subspace ability before. This only hypes him up even more. Suddenly, his muscles bulge and expand until Jo Jin-ho is literally 3 times his normal size. Meanwhile, over in the guild office, Kim Miso's father is panicking. He is completely stressed about his daughter. Even if she insists she is fine, he cannot rest easy. Frustrated, Miso snaps that she is going to walk her own path, telling him to stop calling her entirely. Left with no choice, Mr. Kim makes a phone call to guild leader Jang, asking for a favor. Back at the training grounds, Jo Jin-ho grins with anticipation. He announces he is going to find out everything he needs to know right now. Activating his full combat mode, he asks Shin Sang-yun if he is truly prepared. Shin Sang-yun stares, realizing this is his first time seeing giant mode up close. He knows Doug Young-soo is the benchmark. But that legendary style is incredibly hard to copy, so most people do not even try. Instead, they focus entirely on raw strength, believing physical power is the ultimate answer. They constantly push their bodies to the absolute limit, relentlessly building their power. Shin Sang-yun trained the exact same way. The absolute peak of this style remains highly debated. But at least within Korea, Jo Jin-ho is easily considered one of the absolute strongest. That giantification ability makes him a total beast on the battlefield. Honestly, who wouldn't get hyped up clashing with a monster like that? The mere thought of fighting such a powerful giant gets his blood pumping. Jo Jin-ho notices, admiring his quiet confidence. He hopes the kid can back up that bold attitude during the clash. Just raising his massive blade sends out heavy waves of raw wind pressure. He has to meet force with force. Jo Jin-ho has zero intention of holding back, knowing his opponent is strong. Shin Sang-yun braces himself, fully aware this is no ordinary fight. He cannot afford a single mistake. Suddenly, Jo Jin-ho lunges with a burst of raw power. But the outcome completely blindsides him. He missed Shin Sang-hyo. Jo Jin-ho is completely caught off guard by the kid's sharp instincts. Not just because he blocked it, but because he chose direct defense over complex tricks. Instead of some fancy strategy, the young fighter prepares to strike back. He claims it is his turn now. Jo Jin-ho knows his brief hesitation left him wide open. In a high-level battle, even a split second of surprise can prove completely fatal. The young warrior winds up and delivers a heavy strike, shaking the entire hall. Taking the massive hit directly, Jo Jin-ho is glad the kid is not holding back. At first, he assumed Shin Sang-hyo was just another loud show-off with no actual skill. But now he sees how terribly wrong he was. There is no backing down now. He praises the brutal strike. A normal adventurer would have been instantly crushed. Normally, any ordinary hunter would be completely blown apart trying to block his force. But this kid is exceptionally tough. Still, a real warrior does not need modesty. He wants to see exactly what kind of power Shin Sang-hyo is keeping in reserve. Offering a quick apology in advance, Jo Jin-ho explains that he cannot hold back. When it comes to a real fight, holding back is just disrespectful to an opponent. The protagonist watches closely, remembering that this is the legendary attack Jo Jinho once used. This is the very technique that saved countless lives during the historic second collapse. An event scheduled to happen 20 years from now, and that relentless power is coming. A rain of magical meteors is about to crash directly onto him. Jo Jinho warns that this devastating technique is actually still incomplete. He rarely unleashes it, but standing before Shin Sang-hae, he must go all out. He has to give everything. The protagonist knows this unfinished version is still terrifying. What the veteran calls incomplete is already far more than he can realistically handle. Even pushing his mana to the absolute limit, defending head-on is simply impossible. So Shin Sang-hae needs a smarter strategy. He decides to strike at the weakest flank. Aiming where the force is thinnest, a totally desperate strategy. But it is the only option he has left. He knows the incoming blast is massive. It is the equivalent of 700 high-level adventurers striking all at once. But even if it sounds absolutely insane, he is going to see this through. He has been defying death since his return, and he will make the impossible happen again. Meanwhile, not too far away, Kim Miso walks while quietly reflecting on her life. She's still feeling down about the recent tense argument with her father. But she tells herself to shake it off. She has to meet Shin Sang-hae soon. Suddenly, a massive tremor shakes the ground, echoing throughout the entire building. While the staff assumes it is an earthquake, Kim Miso knows better. The violent shaking is coming directly from the private training hall. Alarmed, she runs. She is absolutely positive that this chaos has everything to do with Shin Sang-hae. Arriving at the scene, she can barely see through the thick, black smoke. Inside, Jo Jinho coughs, admitting that Shin Sang-hae continues to utterly amaze him. He never expected the rookie to take such a devastating attack head-on. The protagonist weakly thanks him, battered but alive after that insane clash. Jo Jinho tells him not to worry, since the guild has top-tier doctors ready. But even though the kid is pretending to be fine, his body is struggling. Jo Jinho felt the impact too, but something else was really bothering him. This newcomer is somehow fighting on the exact same level as a veteran. During their clash, Shin Sang-hae showed zero hesitation. His execution is flawless, not like a rookie at all. Either way, Jo Jinho knows the kid is strong, but still has room to grow. He thanks Shin Sang-hae for the duel, admitting it gave him a lot to think about. Besides, after a fight like this, absolutely nobody in the building is going to doubt him. The guild will finally recognize his true strength. Shin Sang-hae asks if this match was just some kind of entry exam. Jo Jinho nods, but tells him he is built for much bigger things. He even invites him into his exclusive secret club, right before Kim Miso interrupts. She snaps, reminding Jo Jinho she only asked him to welcome the guy. Not try to murder him, she asks if he has completely lost his mind.